Ladies and men of the gentle disposition, welcome back once again to DoomRadio, the only Doom podcast with two names. You know me as Alfonso, I hope. Christ. And you're listening to the 2016 Cacowards Retrospective, which, can you believe it, is actually being recorded in the same year that the Cacowards are put out. Wow. Because I think that 2015 was done in January, which means I actually put out 3 podcasts this year, thanks to my screw-uppers. That's not bad. That is almost half as much as Terminus since he started in September. Speaking of which, Intermission folks have crawled their way over here, or actually we've kind of gone over to their hideout, infiltrated it, battering ram style. Hey Terminus and hey Kinsie, how you doing?
All right, considering it's before noon on a Sunday.
Yeah, I'm good like that.
I'm eating breakfast.
That's all the introduction we needed. I don't think we need to do any more. You've probably heard more of them than you have of me. And in the blue corner, we have Do, who we used to wheel out once a year. No, hey, he was always on the podcast.
Hello, comrades.
How you doing? Okay, so as with last year, we're going to be doing the rundown of all the awardees. And if you're listening to this in the car, I hope your destination is some ways away. Or at least if the trip's 1 hour, so then you can drop the kids off and then come back and listen on the way home. It's a 2-hour thing. We'll try to cut it down a little bit this year. I think we sort of got ahead of ourselves last time, but without further ado, the nominations thread is a bit of a misnomer, and I know we wanted to discuss this a little bit. And do you have some bones to pick? In fact,
right.
You may have even prepared something of a speech, it sounds like. So what's wrong with nominations?
Yeah, we're starting with the big topic. Basically, the thread itself has been renamed to mentionations, I think.
Is that a word? Is mentionation a word?
It is now. A word now, yeah. Basically, some people had like a bone to pick with the idea that the number of mentions in the thread should mean something, which is obviously a nonsense because we're just looking at the stuff that gets mentioned in the thread, and then we play it, and then we decide if it's like worthy of awarding or not, basically. And like the thread lives on itself, and some people in it, like, they're making the totals, and you know, this year it was the like Bloodstain that got basically snubbed. Because
you were thinking of another word to use, but that's the only one that came.
Yeah, just the fact that it's mentioned so many times shouldn't mean it gets an award. Like, if it's like if our role is to be relegated to just write articles for you know, the winners of some popularity contest, then I don't know, I wouldn't be writing those awards. Not sure about you, folks.
I can see the idea of like wanting some sort of like a popular choice category or whatever, but on the other hand, this hasn't been an especially good year for populist democracy. So
yeah, the equalization policy is working, folks.
I mean, okay, if you're going with that, I guess like you could say Bloodstain didn't win Florida and Michigan.
Keeping it topical.
KMX-chigan and Fonzida. I don't know.
I guess I'm like the North Dakota or something of the US.
Honestly, I think that the issue is people are just taking nominations and kind of mentally attributing more worth than what they are. Because nominations at its core, even just the word nominate,
right,
all it is you're naming something as a candidate.
Mm-hmm.
That is it.
That's why I say it's a misnomer. And why we've done this really weird rejig at the start of the 2017 thread.
I think whether you name it nominations or whether you name it mentions, people are just going to mentally attribute that weight to it no matter what.
Yeah.
Well, there were quite a few new people, which is great to see. A lot of newbies to the community registered 2016 who were taking part in the thread and giving their mentions. So that makes sense that they wouldn't be clued in, and why we kind of have to wheel this rationale out every year. This is the third retrospective, and I think we've talking about the same thing. But it's at the same time, and I guess this is almost a separate issue, but we did get quite a few people at the very, very end, like one day before the Cacowards were released, nominating things like Ancient Aliens as though we had not seen it for the last 355 days.
Yeah, it's the deciding vote. I was like on the fence about it, and then we just said, yeah, Term, go, write an article.
People Kramering in at the last minute going, I'm sorry, have you heard of Brutal Doom?
I don't know. This Ancient Alien things, it just seems kind of underground, you know? I mean...
Yeah. Finally bringing it to our attention on December 9th.
But I understand what Kinsie says about, maybe setting aside one award, like Populous Award, because we do have all these categories now. I wouldn't say we've bloated it out so much in the last 5 years or so, but we have certainly expanded it a bit, and there's talk of now, how far can they go? But at the same time, if we did have
Miss Popularity,
the thing that no one mentioned, but I feel like half the time, or well over half the time, what would be considered the most popular does get awarded anyway. I mean, sure, it would be Bloodstain this year. That ended up getting an honorable mention. But how far back would you have to go? Probably Hellbound, I guess. That would have received an award outright, such as the Outcry, so hence the use of the word snub. But any other year, I feel, if there was just one award, it would go to something that ordinarily gets a Cacoward anyway, so it'd be sort of redundant.
Yeah, the problem with like a community choice category is that 50% of the time, like you said, it would have gotten a Cacoward anyway. So it's sort of a downgrade. And the other 50% of the time, it would have been disagreed with by the writing committee, for lack of a better word. So, like, the description for it would have basically been written through gritted teeth.
Mm-hmm. And there will be more on that later.
And, yes, and that would probably be more of an insult than an award, since the description would basically be very... obviously,
desperately
very obviously
trying
to weasel out, I guess.
Yeah, like who writes that? Like, no one on the committee wanted to give that award, but someone has to write that article because people voted on it. And who gets that? Like, do we draw straws? Who gets to do that sloppy?
Desperately trying to find something to praise that we like.
Oh, that would have been me this year, by the way. Because I jumped off the super top secret Cacowards conscription bunker for like 2 days, and then I came back and everyone had grabbed the articles that they wanted to write, and I was left with the dregs. No, not true. I wanted to write about stuff like MyAsma. That's awesome. But yeah, that would have been me this year if that was the route we take.
Oh, I'm sorry. I would have let you write Ancient Aliens, but I wanted to.
No, that was only half sarcastic.
I hope you can forgive me deep in your heart, Fawns. I hope we can make it work.
No.
Okay.
There've been a lot of new award. Last year we had a lot of award category suggestions, and we thought it was a problem then. This year it's been blown out of proportion to the point where Jez made quite. Is it Gez or Jez? He made quite a humorous post regarding potential award categories that we could create, such as best imp thing 43 placement or best line def. But I'm wondering if any of these categories might actually carry weight, because things have changed so much and continuing to change in the community. And so usually, it's not like the Oscars, which is pretty steadfast and quite rock solid. We are a little more malleable, I suppose, as is obvious with the fact that this year we gave 11 awards out. So any of these awards, if any of you have seen them, suggested, do they carry any weight at all? And I know Do has one of his own that he'll need to back up in a second, and if he can segue into that. You can segue into that very nicely. It'd be cool.
I'm getting all the tough questions here. Come on, give Hillary some. I mean, what's up with
Keep it going.
Well, we're obviously talking about the proposition to make the art award.
Yes, which was prompted by Comatose, correct?
Right, to a degree. Like, there was the like, obviously, Comatose was a really great thing, and Lenos continued to create more artistically great stuff. So basically, there was like the idea to have a separate category for these mappers who perhaps don't create the best map of the year, but just have this something extra in their work that just, I don't know, feels so special in that year. Like yeah, the best art of the year, like something
Best
that
set dressing.
impresses you so much. But in the end, I don't know if we just waffled on the issue for too long, or we just decided that it's too much of a non-category. But basically, in the end, we just gave Lenos the Mapper of the Year anyway.
Yeah,
I guess that's.
I don't think it would fit as like a full-on category, but I think having it alongside like the honorable mentions would go down well.
In the beginning, it was like it was supposed to be something for the texture artists, perhaps. You know, there's so much stuff in Doom that just doesn't get recognized in the Cacoward. The musicians, the texture artists, I don't know, anyone, like whoever makes sprites. It's so much work, and it doesn't get recognized at all. It just gets a credit in the text file, and that's all. So we were like, maybe we could expand into that area, but we never got too far on that because I think it's too much of a, still, even if we go there, it's too broad a category.
If there's one thing that the Cacowards definitely kind of, I don't want to say favor, but it's pretty clear that the Cacowards were kind of made at a time when mapping was the big thing that was being done with Doom.
That's
now there's
obvious.
Now there's all sorts of other things that the community has done, and in fact is doing, and is continuing to doing. And the next big thing after that was gameplay mods. And gameplay mods, they've kind of taken off like a rocket.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why the team is continually expanding. Actually, like the Doominati are getting new members, so that's why this guy is talking actually, and me.
Yeah, you should have stuck to your multiplayer category. God damn it!
Damn! I should have kept my mouth
Hey, let's
shut.
expand the multiplayer category to 3 things this year, and then suddenly multiplayer modding dies.
Yeah. No, but yeah, basically, we try to accommodate to like whatever the Doom community does, but it's pretty hard, like to balance it out. So maybe an art award in the future, maybe, but this year it just didn't get enough traction.
My biggest problem is that the community is it continues to evolve all the time, and categories are supposed to be grounded, right? They're supposed to be permanent. It would look strange to introduce something and then just buck it out, like the worst WOD to come back for 1 year because Scuba thinks something's deserving of it, and then just piss it off again for 3 more years. Watch, rinse, repeat. I mean, it's special in a way, and I quite liked having the 11th Cacoward as a one-off because of Romero. That just seemed right to me. Ling brought me around on that topic, but I wouldn't like to see it become so shapeless as to expand to twice its size just to accommodate something. I mean, would we get enough content worthy of an art award year in year out? Is what I'm saying. Because I mean, because the Mock Award was actually surprisingly, I mean, the amount of stuff we got for it this year was staggering. That was the one award that we had so much trouble over, right up until the 11th hour when Ludicrum came in at the very last second, even though it came out in December of the previous year. But it's hard to believe that 3 years ago, roughly, we were considering axing it completely because there was just nothing for it. It's just nothing. I mean, Brutalist Doom is it's a good joke, but it's been left by the wayside. How many categories?
And that was a fucking pun on the Brutal Doom. Like that was half of the joke. Come on, like you can't.
I don't think an art category would really fall by the wayside because if anything, there's so many different ways to do art. I mean, you take a look at the Muck Award, and there's really only a couple ways it can be done. You can do either a funny map set or you can do a funny gameplay mod. And even then, the trouble is it going to be a funny concept or is it going to be funny to actually play? Art, on the other hand, you have nice aesthetics in a map wad. You have beautifully handmade sprites. You have incredible fan art. You have incredible shaders that now are being done by the community.
Oh, okay.
There's also like a texture, like custom textures, and music probably fit in since that's technically an art form.
I was barking up a completely different tree because I thought what Do was actually meant by his art was like literature and Doom, like putting in, because if any of you have played Comatose, it reads like its own separate world full of ideas, and and he could go into it for ages.
More in the sense that Term mentions like
if we're talking about like pretentious Doom, then the award there would definitely go Strange Aeons.
No. I don't mean like giving it to Bob Dylan. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that makes sense to me because I mean that is so broad a category that can fall in so many different. So I agree with Terminus in there, absolutely. And it's similar to, we feel so confident in giving gameplay category its own award now, and we have no concerns that that's about to disappear because there are entire sub-communities that their entire focus is on doing that, and then other map sets that's just fun new playgrounds to test out these mods in, rather than let's talk about the maps themselves. So that's great to see, and that's easily justified. And I suppose
small things, but actually the mod category might get expanded. Because I don't think multiplayer awards are getting back to 3 awards ever again. So yeah, there might be more room for Term to do his thing.
I kind of feel bad for Mechanics Union because they've won awards like 3 years in a row, and that's partially because they're the only ones that are actually doing anything for 3 years in a row.
They totally deserve the awards. They would get the awards any year in the history, but it's like I know where you're coming from. Like the competition is so thin that it's like okay, here you go, guys. See you again next year.
Right. I mean, it's a problem with what we as the Cacowards are deciding to focus on, rather than saying, okay, I mean, they are actually kind of dominating that era. But I mean, we awarded Whodunit, I think, 4 years ago or something like that. And since then, when Do came in and rightly started focusing on this aspect of the multiplayer community. But I would like to see the gameplay category expanded. I think that's a good idea. I'm kind of surprised now
I'm going to take you up on that. I'm going to take you up on that. Mark my words, right here, saying it in public. Hold me to this. Next year, 3 gameplay awards.
Oh shit!
So
3.
Damn.
I'm gonna post a bit of a discussion topic here. I don't particularly play much, if any, multiplayer Doom, and I guess what I'm wondering is, from an outsider perspective, what has happened with the multiplayer community that has dulled the amount of multiplayer maps being made? Is it like people playing the same map sets and gameplay mods over and over? Is it lowering numbers of multiplayer players?
That's it. That's all it is. It's just dwindling numbers over the years.
All right.
And it doesn't even need to be expanded beyond that point. It's just dwindling numbers, and people just I don't know, get bored of it or just die out, and there's not enough new blood coming in.
I'm not sure about the fact that the servers are dwindling, because I can open up Doom server or Doom Seeker and I can see pretty regularly about 150, 300 people on any total given servers. I think it's more...
Yeah, but those are the people that move towards like complex Doom and playing just that sort of stuff in co-op servers. And there's like if you just filter that out and just focus on like FFA, like deathmatch or CDF, you will get almost nothing most of the time.
Yeah, I think it's kind of... Zandronum has kind of been in a little bit of development hell recently. By the way, it's almost the second year anniversary for the last Zandronum build. There's also the fact that a lot of creators recently have been significantly more interested in picking fights with each other than actually making things. It's definitely a very, shall we say, aggressive world in which people are more interested in making a reputation and maintaining a reputation rather than actually making things. Back when I was during my last day as Zandronum community manager, well, rather project forums manager, the second most useless job on the staff, I was trying... Mifu, the head admin, he wanted to do a sort of public community discussion and talk about one of the big things is, why aren't people playing more? And one of the things that was brought up was because of those damn Doom World community overlords.
What? We actually when we actually opened the multiplayer section sometime last year, which I was actually kind of against it because I thought that would just create more grounds for, shit flinging and just bitching. But it actually kind of works, kind of gets things done. But I guess we're done with that topic anyway.
We were. No, that's actually a perfect cutoff point because we're about to go straight into the Lifetime Achievement Award.
Lifetime Achievement Award, I'd like to present it to John Romero.
God, we kind of did, didn't we?
Someone mentioned that for a second and got laughed out. Well, obviously, again, we're returning to the nominations thing. Quasar got like 8 or 10 nominations, and as much as I love Quasar and everything he did for the community, SP is definitely the last category that should get nominations. That's not at all what it's supposed to be. Like it's not a popularity contest, and we're trying to award like people from different walks of Doom life. That's awkward. But basically, after Fraggle was awarded last year, we wanted to do something different than another programmer, another source port creator. And even though you could award Quasar basically on his work on Doom Wiki alone, we just wanted something completely different. Or I wanted something completely different. And yeah, so that's why we went for Opulent and Andy Oliveira. And these guys have been like really they have been holding the speedrunning community together for the last 16 years. It would be completely like the other communities you see out there that have no history. It's just guys coming like to the SDA archive and whatever, just submitting a few demos here and there. We have a history. We have a fucking 16-year strong history, and going even prior to that with like the CN archives and everything. It's amazing. It's like these guys just held it together when everything fell apart because no one cared about Doom anymore. So this was my tribute to them, because right now we wouldn't be where we are with all these crazy Zero Master demos of him like destroying all of the awardees. It's part of the deal. Like, these are the silent guys in the background who just they may not be the best players around, but they give an opportunity to great players like Zero Master to strut his stuff.
Yeah, I was about to mention that speedrunning has sort of come into the limelight over the past year or two, mostly due to Zero Master's utter demolitions of the awardees.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that, as you said, like the backbone is in this pre-YouTube history of demo files being shared and archived. And these guys are the guys that handled that.
Mm-hmm.
They were the archive.
Anyone nowadays in this day and age can upload a YouTube video of a little bit of gameplay they did. Back in the day, there was not that option at all. So in order for people to really get feedback on their maps, see how other people played their maps, they had to share demos. And probably the most efficient demos, speedrunning. Because that is just taking the level and breaking it over your knee in order to finish it as fast as possible. And that is absolutely invaluable in a pre-YouTube era.
Yeah, and exactly as you say, like there was Combat N for the awardees, which eventually, of course, died. But for the P-wards, there was nothing. There was like it was completely decentralized, just guys sharing demos for their maps on the internet. And Opulent was the first guy who really started to like bring this home, like all this effort to grab demos for all the P-wards out there, like anyone's completely noobish map, and someone decided to record a demo for that. Like, was it like speed or max, and was it like on vanilla Doom, or was it like in fucking J Doom or whatever? Everything went, and he just started. So that's where we are nowadays. You have like there's a tons of maps, demos in the SDA which are recorded on Legacy. Which, come on, no one can even play that back anymore. You will have to do an incredible amount of like work to just get those working. But it's all there. You can try. which creates this amazing history to the community. Which is something that we celebrated with the award to Ty Halderman, because that's the map set background for all of this, and this was the demo recording bit. So yeah,
it might be a little bit dramatic to say, but for a community that's as content driven as ours, especially that relies entirely upon other people making things and other people sharing things, a speedrun archive is a museum. It is our history.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like, you see how and especially when you watch something as crazy as Zero Master speedruns, you have to realize that he's standing on like the shoulders of giants, because of course he found some new tricks. Even himself, he improved some of the runs himself, but he also just took an incredible amount of work that was already laid down before him, and this would be so much harder without such an extensive and so well documented archive.
I have to say, I mean, my only foray into the world of speedrunning has been as a joke. There was something called Good at Doom back in, I think it was a couple of years ago, and I was really impressed with the article that you wrote, or rather, it sold me that impression of how large this underworld is, and how much it carries the community in ways that I think a lot of us don't appreciate. So it interested me to the extent that I might actually dabble in it in future a little bit, taking part in it.
That would be the best thing I can hope for.
Yeah, it was an article that's basically started by making you going, wait, literally who? But the article itself sold the idea. It sold the importance of the speedrunning and demo sharing scene and the people that run it.
Made me kind of feel ashamed, really, for not being clued in on that aspect.
Yeah, that's what I was going for. Just shame on you, whoever you are, not recording demos.
Dude, everyone should be aware of their history. Everyone, even like communities, especially communities as long-lived as this. We've got our own mythology, even.
Maybe we should set up our own re-education branch. That's how it starts, right? Illuminati folk.
Yes.
Okay, well, sorry for conking out there again. I've tinkered with some stuff. I hope I don't do it a fourth time. Yes, it actually happened twice.
Hope you like my recordings.
I love them. All right, so let's get on to the maps proper. Thanks for that detour. Do buy me some time there. And let's start off with the 11th, which has been listed first. In Tech Gone Bad. Now, the guy who really pushed for the 11th Cacoward here was Linguica.
Linguisa.
Sausage Man.
Yeah, the guy with the sausage. No, last time I said Linguica on a stream, and he fucking told me that I was so wrong about the pronunciation.
Well, it really depends because it's such a multicultural word. I mean, you've got the Portuguese pronunciation, you've got the Polish pronunciation. I call it the Polish pronunciation, Lingica, because that Lingica. That's the fun way to pronounce it.
How about that homemade Cacoward, folks? And why didn't anyone else get one? Well, I mean, obvious enough. It's John Romero.
Yeah, he kind of got special treatment.
He got his own goddamn banner. That's amazing.
So the guy who made Doom gets special treatment on a Doom website run by Doom fanboys. I don't know, guys. Seems a little fishy. I don't know.
One of the original developers of the game releasing a new level is newsworthy enough to take notice of in itself, but the fact that the level itself was actually pretty good basically sold it.
It made it easy to defend, that's for sure. Otherwise, the squabbling would have been immense, or larger than it already was behind doors.
Let's be completely honest here. John Romero has had kind of a mixed history since Doom with his gameography. So just releasing a level there would be doubts. But the level itself is well designed. It has some interesting ideas with the hurt floor cracks. And it has some nice looking set pieces like the Baron battle at the end. And it's all done using the default resources. So it fits in really well with the original E1 maps, just sort of more evolved due to the higher limits.
I would also like to point out that very technically, this made Romero actually eligible for the Most Promising Newcomer award.
Most Promising Newcomer non-Doomed category.
Yeah, that was actually the committee or the judges or whatever we want to call it. We were actually split on the decision to award the map or not. Obviously, we thought that Romero should get a nod.
Something,
yeah. But the idea, if it's supposed to be an award in itself, was quite contentious to the last minute, because this year was insane. It was also. We almost thought that giving it to the Romero map would be unfair to all of the projects out there in 2016. I was completely a fan of the map. it's really great. It's wonderfully challenging. It's a great adventure. But was it good enough to get an award in such a stacked year? So basically, up until December, we were actually not sure if we should award it or not. But basically, by the time the physical Cacoward was already on its way, so Linguisa took the matter out of our hands.
Yeah, that's one way to force the issue.
Hey guys, I'm just gonna make John Romero a physical Cacoward, and if you don't award it,
awkward.
then boy, it's not dissimilar to how another project ended up getting.
We'll
its
get
Cacoward.
to that.
What is that?
Second up on the agenda is Ancient Aliens by Skillsaw, and like Ancient Aliens, that thing was getting.
Unsurprising.
Yeah, that thing
pick
was
of the
getting
year.
mainstream media coverage on actual gaming websites just because, holy shit, look at it.
It's honestly, I think probably the first paragraph I wrote for the Ancient Alien article really just sums it up. Ancient Aliens is a Skillsaw map set released in the year of our Lord 2016. That's all you need to know. That's really all you need to know.
Yeah, I probably should just wait this part out because I was a part of the creative process, but it's just such a great map set. Like even the people who like hate the gameplay or who just don't enjoy the jokes, they're like, yeah, it's a really great map set, but I just don't like the style, or I don't like the colors, or I don't like the map something. But overall, yeah, I concede it's one of the greatest map sets ever.
It was very inventive, like visually, like it wasn't just doing the whole tech-based thing over and over again. It was coming with new and exciting like texture styles, and it came up with interesting ways to use the old Doom enemies. Like even in map 1, there's the Cyber Demon turret setup.
That scared away some folks.
Yeah, actually, for the people who don't know, there was actually like the entire map set started out as Skillsaw's attempt to create I don't know, sort of a like a Cyber Dreams thing where you'd have short, challenging puzzle scenarios like the first few maps are, but then he just decided that nope, that wouldn't work for 30 maps. So he started branching out into more like grand adventures. And of course, the guest mappers took it into that area entirely. But yeah, it actually started with those few entry maps. Like it was supposed to be that, and then
I heard he's
exploded.
actually I heard he laments to some extent those early maps because I mean the project wasn't misguided. Obviously, the end result is magnificent, but he feels as though he didn't jump on the guest boat a little bit early. He would have liked to see more in the early slots rather than him just sort of pump out these speed. I mean, they do play something like tutorial levels, like the little cute setups that have focus on sort of spatial awareness and turret monsters and the like. And then after about map 6, it explodes into something more substantial, I guess. But to me, that's just an interesting insight into the project's history. It doesn't really compromise the whole at all. If anything, it just gives it more character.
Yeah, I would say.
And in any case, I don't think it.
I mean, if you just blow it out into a full grand adventure with huge maps all the way, it's like I don't know. You lose a part of the character. Like it's going to be really long, and it's going to be kind of like Sea Chest 3 that it's just going to go on forever.
Like, if Ancient Aeons was this big map after big map after big map, I think it would run the risk of becoming another Eternal Doom of sorts, where it was really pretty, but also everything took for fucking ever to play. Right. And I think those short, punchy turret levels at the start sort of set a pace and a tone where it's like, this isn't going to quite be the Doom you remember.
Yeah, you shouldn't camp behind corners. You shouldn't just hump every wall.
It really pushes this whole move or die sort of attitude.
Right.
Straight from the get-go, Ancient Aliens tells you one thing. Start moving, shithead.
And it's really important, and I'm really glad he sold that idea as well, because when you create something that's as beautiful as Ancient Aliens is, I mean, those screenshots alone just sell it to the outside world. I mean, I know Scuba in his article of Blades of Agony, getting on later, he was he was talking about,
we're gonna have words to say.
I imagine so many bones will be picked, it'll be like piranhas, but I know Scuba was talking about, if you wanted to show your cousin or something, or whoever was inquisitive, what Doom's up to today, he would point towards Blade of Agony. I would point towards Ancient Aliens, because I think just the vibrancy of those screenshots would sell it so much better.
Yeah, like in the year of fucking synthwave exploding into popularity, what do you need to show people more than like Ancient Aliens with all those synthwave colors?
And he got on the meme bandwagon as well. I mean, he has it all.
Oh yeah, that just got so popular.
I think the level that most summarizes up Ancient Aliens is Illuminati Revealed, which has the huge pyramid.
Does that speak to you on a personal level?
With the huge spinning hologram pyramid at the top. You got the hordes of enemies coming at you, and you have this sublime soundtrack with synth saxophone all over the place.
Oh, man.
It's just really the pinnacle of the experience. Just like the fast-paced, the deadly, and the cheesy all converging together into this fantastic flavor that is identifiably Doom while still going out on its own path.
Welcome to the sexy Illuminati.
It turns from it changes Doom around and turns it from Doom to Mood.
But yeah, that soundtrack needs way more love.
As far as I know, because I've talked to him a little bit about it, as he was making it as well, he was trying to make it sound as not MIDI as possible, like just break the boundaries. Because Stu Boy's music is just so heavy on the panning and mixing, and like he constantly runs into the poly limit in MIDI because he's just bending it in ways that he's not supposed to go there.
And it turns out fantastically.
Brilliant. Yep. So just in closing on Ancient Aliens, because there's a lot, I imagine we'll be speaking a lot less about some of these awardees, if only because I'm probably the only one who's played. Absolutely killed. What really impresses me, because I know Memphis made a post recently that he says a lot of stuff, but this post in particular rung true sort of for me. He started off garbling about how WODs of today weren't true, which didn't make any sense to me until he elaborated on it a little bit. And he says that they are quite railroaded experiences. And, a lot of the setups are really orchestrated. The player is handheld through everything. And that doesn't strike me as necessarily bad. I understand what he means in a map being so loose and free form as to you can create your own experience rather than feeling like an actor in someone else's play, as KMX put it quite well, I think. But when you have a level designer who knows how to vary up the experience, so I mean he's taking that actor on such a varied journey that you basically wind up having the same experience as you would if you did have that sort of freedom that Memphis was talking about in his post. Because the sort of variety that you have in Ancient Aliens is just impressive. You have Icon of Sin maps, you have Tyson maps, you have all those different themes going on. So even though it is sort of on rails, even when it's perceivably non-linear, but is in fact just taking on a straight line, it still feels like you're getting worked over in all the angles. And that's what really strikes me as impressive. That's what shows me that he's really one of the greatest level designers that the community has.
I think a lot of the issues with that so-called railroading is that a lot of it is just being overly familiar with the engine and what people do with it and what people use it for. Because, let's be honest, at this rate, imps, demons, no longer terrifying at all. Back in the day, people would just get terrified at Doom because what were these strange monsters? They'd never been seen before. Now, the sense of fear, it's completely impossible to regain. People have used imps and demons to death again and again and again. Likewise, it's probably the same with a lot of quote-unquote established level design techniques and architecture techniques and things like that. You go back in time and, let's say, 2004, and you show someone Valiant, they are going to be in for the ride of their life. Now, Skillsoul's mapping technique has been honed very finely in Valiant, and people that are familiar with Skillsoul's technique will probably know what to expect. Someone who has never experienced it before, they're going to be on the ride of their life.
Mm-hmm.
That's all true. Given I still get the shit kicked out of me by scariness, by cyber demons hidden around corners in like 128 unit. Memento Mori map 28. I keep bringing it up, folks, but it's there. Or is it map 27? They're everywhere. Just
I think it was 28.
Just hidden around little staircases. Just where it's like he misplaced an imp. That should be an imp.
You wouldn't think that a 10-foot tall Minotaur with a rocket launcher could be stealthy, but there you go.
It's actually funny because I just like today I made a huge rant to World about Sunlust and how it's actually like going too far with exactly this, like the pre-scripted gameplay. Like everything that happens in Sunlust is because the mappers want it to happen.
Yes.
Like every step you make, yeah, you're there because they made you make that step. And I found myself not liking what I was playing. Some people are in love with this, like jumping through the hoops, just going on with the Boshy, and it's fine, I guess. But for me, it's not actually like the Doom experience I want to experience. Like,
so do you sympathize with Memphis on that point then?
He goes too far in everything. Like I can't really agree with Memphis on it at all.
Totally put you in a corner there.
No, what I mean is like Ancient Aliens is not pre-designed in this sense at all. Like you can always improvise. Like there's very little scenarios where you're really pushed into the corner and you just have to use one strategy or die. That's Sunlust territory. Ancient Aliens still give you the option to win every scenario on your first try. Yeah, you can win just by being either lucky or either being really skilled, I guess.
I sort of agree. I mean, to me, it's not a degree of difficulties. I'm talking more with respect to just how polished everything is and how all the corners are sanded off, so that if any experience you're having is, even if it feels like it's your own, is in some way still part of the designer put you there. But I agree, it's certainly not to the same extent of Sunlust, which is
but
being
fine.
forced through a straw.
I definitely like. I'm not putting Sunlust down. There's plenty of people who just love this stuff. Like they will play Sunlust over and over because it's just so great that they're just looking for the challenge. But for me, it's not exactly what I see in Doom. Like I want the improvisation, and that's not in Sunlust, and it is in Ancient Aliens.
Interesting discussion. Perhaps more on that on Intermission, because it won't be on our talkback show.
We didn't talk about the Cacos much this intermission. We were mostly
that's kind of you. All right, Nihility, Infinite Teeth. Who else has played this thing? This is a wonderful little episode for Ultimate Doom. Sans music sort of invokes Phobosian and Demosian elements of the sort that we're familiar with, but then sluices them into a kind of a very new experience, not just for lack of music and inclusion of ambient sounds and stuff, but also new resources, and it makes for a very cute experience, a cool experience. Has anyone else played Nihility?
Usually I don't like Doom 1 replacements, but this was just amazing, because the pure atmosphere was really great. Like I played a beta version, that was still a work in progress, and there were still like some issues unresolved, but it was so amazing. He put so much effort in the atmosphere that I completely lapped it up. Like such a great experience. I haven't felt that afraid in Doom since like the original Doom.
That's interesting after what Terminus was just talking about with regards to how familiar with all the monsters and stuff. Because after playing through Nihility and its lack of music, I then did the same thing for No End in Sight, because that had stock stuff and no way I was going to listen to At Doom's Gate for the 10 billionth time. So, but the same thing happened. There were genuine moments of fear when I was playing through No End in Sight, and I'm not sure I would have suffered them if I had the music on. I doubt it. If I was playing On the Hunt on, you've played No End in Sight, obviously. There's E3M6. I know there's tougher levels later on, but there's a particular maze in No End in Sight, in which it gets progressively darker as you flip switches and just bandy yourself back and forth, and barons come spilling out. And in complete silence, just surrounded by ambient monster noises as they try to hunt you down in that maze. That's a genuinely scary moment, and that's all thanks really to Nihility that really taught me that, because I'd been there is a way for the game to play without music and really strike a note. I think players, when they hear the music kick in, they enter this sort of groove that they're very familiar with and have been for like 20 years of playing Doom, and then it's removing the music just unsettles them, like
that shotgun
shits that out.
just going nuts on the monsters, and it's just the Doom comic over and over. and if the music isn't there, and you're just and you get the fucking wraiths or completely different monsters, and you don't know if you should expect something completely new, it's great. It's fucking amazing, and this is a match that everyone should play.
It's interesting considering all those things, how it also aligns itself with Alpha. Has some Alpha resources in there, which is the
Alpha weapons. Like, I've never liked them, but I love them here.
Yeah, it's interesting to see like the Doom Bible curse start to finally get broken this year. There's been a couple of projects based on prototype stuff that have actually achieved some form of satisfying release.
The curse is broken, so to speak. I'm not overly familiar with all the sorts of alpha projects that have been. I know Blast Frog, aka Soda Holic, has been involved in a few. I'm not aware of these.
He wasn't the one.
Should I not have said that? I'm not aware. Should I not have said that?
I think it's his custom title on Doom World, so I think you're safe.
Okay, cool. We're not quite pressed for time. Maybe we are. I don't know. We're not really keeping a stopwatch, but let's press on here. Mutiny. Now, this is a boom set totaling 16 maps, I think. It's 15 plus 16 for Doom 2. Started by 40 Ounce as a collaboration project. This is very interesting to me because we see a lot of the word collaboration in Doom World, at least, usually means less, discussing ideas together and collaborating, hence the word, on formulating a layout or how we're going to implement themes and stuff. It's more one person doesn't finish the map and then someone else comes in and rescues it.
Or someone throws a map over the fence.
So Mutiny does what a lot of collaborations don't do, which is actually collaborate. It's weird that we should have to say that, but that is the case. And that's a unique learning that creates a pretty cool experience. It's strain and inspired the colored likes of the 90s.
I'm a big fan of most of Strain, and except for that one level with the mostly shorn textures. Fuck that level. And just I really miss that sort of like cyberpunk TC sort of thing. So stepping back into that world is something I'm looking forward to playing further.
It's certainly pretty interesting. You can see his previous experience with UAC Ultra showing through. UAC Ultra had a very heavy prominence on like grunge and orange, whereas Mutiny is kind of rounds out the colors a little bit. So aesthetics-wise, definitely a lot more rounded, definitely a lot more interesting, but the feel is still there.
Does that make any waves at all in like outside of Doom, like because Mutiny is colorful and playful in a way that I think it might resonate with more people. Maybe not in the same way that Ancient Aliens did, but did people say on VR, or since I don't check that out too much, maybe you guys do.
I think probably the biggest confusion in non-Doom World communities was with the gameplay mod of the same name, where you fight against the UAC rather than demons.
Oh, wow. I see.
That's called Mutiny.
Yeah, yeah, that is also called Mutiny. It is a gameplay mod, sort of replaces the weapons with standard military fare, but the big thing is that every single enemy has been replaced with a UAC soldier equivalent. Like the Cyber Demon, it's a big battle mech with a UAC pilot in the suit commanding it as you go along, and it fires BFG shots, has a chainsaw arm. Pretty cool stuff.
So how does Mutiny plays with Mutiny?
Actually pretty
shitty. Turns out mixing peanut butter with peanut butter doesn't really work.
Well, rather in this case, it would be more peanut butter with peanuts and butter.
I thought of that immediately after saying it. Absolutely killed.
Am I absolutely the only person that's played this? How long do we need to spend on this particular item?
No. I've actually played that.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
okay.
I played it.
Well, yeah.
Wow.
Let's be honest. If there's one thing that can be said about this, it absolutely killed the award.
Oh, it's okay. I've already used the Baron Acton joke, so I mean you're good.
I wish I was dead.
You know, I felt very sorry for myself writing out that joke and just bookending it no less, like the entire article relied on it. I spent most of my time talking about gimmicks. I think gimmick is I wouldn't say it's misused in the community, because it does have a connotation of negativity. Even though it's more of a second definition of the word, I suppose, at least if you're neaky and want to look up Oxford English Dictionary or something. But in Doom World, at least, when someone says gimmick, it's more of a disposable word to sort of entirely describe something without going into too much more detail about it. And it can get frustrating.
It sounds a bit negative, like if something's gimmicky, it's like cheap or something.
Yes.
But not in this case. Like this is gimmicks done right.
I mean, is it the wrong word to use, though? Is there a better word to use than gimmick?
It's just taking the word back, sort of. Like,
right.
Reclaiming gimmicks as something that's cool to use, not just shit memes or whatever it means nowadays.
So for anyone not in the know, this is the limit-removing Ultimate Doom episode by Ryathan, who I understand goes by another name. It's actually listed there in the article. I can't quite remember.
Yeah,
Squeeber?
It's like the stuff you know about Doom taken to the nth level. Like you have to escape exploding barrels, or you have to, I don't know, find a lot of secrets.
Right, it's
stuff like that.
It's the variety of gimmicks and how it all brings together as a whole. And comparing it actually to stock Doom, it reminds me of Sandy's work. Don't run, no, come back, no, it's good. In that,
I can't believe we have a Sandy sympathizer
hey,
here.
Chasm is the best. It's
I'm
how
leaving.
it bounces back between gimmicks and levels of a more ordinary nature. Like, as an entire experience, that's what really sells it for me. So you have things like
it's completely playable. Like
yes,
it's not just stupid puns, but it's completely playable. That's why no one even considered it for like the.
That sounds like faint praise, to be honest. Completely playable.
No, I mean, it's funny. The ideas are like, oh, okay, you're going with this, but we've never considered it for the mock award, even though it kind of like overlaps in that territory. It makes jokes, but it makes them so well that it deserves a proper Cac award.
And for the reason that I say, I mean, it does feel to me in some ways more like stock Doom. I mean, if Doom were released, not that this is Doom, but if you wouldn't give that a mock award. It'd be funny to give it a mock award, like it's Sandy's work. I actually kind of like that idea. I shouldn't have thought of that. Oh boy,
we missed that opportunity.
Yeah, I think we have. Just like we missed an opportunity to give John Romero a newcomer award with.
No, come on.
Oh well. Would have been good.
We said no to that. Really strongly.
We could.
I think it deserved more.
We could always edit the Cacowards after the fact. We could always edit the Cacowards and not tell anyone.
Hello and welcome to the 2016 retrospective on the hot takes.
Oh, by the way, check out 2013 Cacowards because they've been changed a little.
Oh no! Heretic.
I like Heretic.
Elf Gets Pissed. Very cool title by Rock King. Very cool guy. I did have a very poor joke in the article at one stage, which is pointed out to me for being poor, as sort of taking pot shots at the community, and in anticipation of Heretic being sort of given a sympathy vote as the token IWAD, which in retrospect I guess isn't really what someone would do, but internally I feel like it has gotten quite a few awards, Heretic, for the number of stuff that's been put out, and so it might seem to some people like, hey, at least someone's trying to push the game forward. It gets an award for that, even if it isn't that great. Elf Gets Pissed is great. It's an excellent episode, and it borrows in some way from Rock King's experience with Doom. And so he's able to apply that knowledge and level design, but he still understands Heretic well enough to have fun with the power-ups and the new weapons and stuff. So it's not, doesn't treat Tombs of Power like some super secret hidden thing that you only get to have fun once every 5 maps whenever it comes out. He goes hell for leather, and it's very colourful. And boardy, I think is the word I used, oddly enough.
Heretic is one of those things that's been sort of neglected by community mappers, and I think part of it is because it has like all of 6 textures. Elf Gets Pissed sort of redresses that balance. I think it adds some more textures from like hexen and stuff, but I think it also does some tweaks to the weapon set and just makes it sort of a modernized Heretic experience. It takes the gameplay design and concepts from the original game and sort of filters that through how the Doom community has evolved over the past 23 years, applying modern Doom gameplay design to Heretic. And it actually works really well.
Interestingly enough, the comparison I made with Sandy also kind of rings true. Because I mean, Rock King's a pretty funny dude, and he has some great sense of humor.
There's some funny stuff. You like the intermission screen with the Fist of the North Star Photoshop, and the special ending to Minotaur Spit Roast.
Yes, Minotaur Spit Roast. There we
just
go.
One of those things that just
will let you fill in the gaps, so to speak.
Yeah. And the first level had a bunch of Draken sounds in the background. Yeah, I actually went poking through the WAD file at some point because I wanted to add like a support for it to Samsara, and there are like Draken monsters in there. I didn't find them in the actual levels themselves, so maybe I missed a secret or something somewhere. I guess Rock King just really likes his Draken.
I think it's very important for everyone to dabble around in, particularly the Doom obsessives, just to take time out to play some of the other stuff and see how they can apply that to if they're keen on working on Doom.
Well, here's a question that's up for consideration. Will there ever be a point in Doom's history where people branch out to the other IWADs to the point where not only do they A, make more stuff for it, but B, the Cacowards may someday have more awards for non-Doom
All
IWAD
square.
content.
6 square awards. 4. I would. Oh, jeez.
Making custom maps for Heretic, making custom maps for Strife, making custom maps for Actually, never mind, nobody mods for Hexen. Making custom maps for Square, and maybe, just maybe, Hacks 2.0 will come out.
Asphyxiation. I know it's a joke. I'm going to pretend to take it seriously for a second. People do. They think they're poorer games. Unfortunately, I think they may be correct. I think they are correct. But at the same time, I don't think they've been explored enough. Like the angle that I'm working up, particularly in the Off Gets Pissed article, and also when I did the new stuff write up for Curse of the Sparrow back in 2010. Holy shit! Is that these people are trying to innovate the area? Like we hadn't seen a Slaughterfest, not Slaughterfest. I don't even like using the word Slaughter-like Heretic that told us when Christus made that map set how the game operates on that scale. All those beasties flying around, gargoyles get spat aside like fireworks. It's quite something. And so there's an angle to be worked up there, and there's a lot more depth to the game than I think people give it credit for. But you need to explore it first. You need to make stuff for it. So that's what Christus was doing. That's what Rockhang's been doing. I think when you get to the end game, when you explore all the depth that games like Heretic has to offer, you'll probably say, yeah, Doom's still better. But at the same time, it's a cool experiment. It's something worth looking into, if for no other reason than ultimately you want to return to Doom more equipped from knowledge that you take away from playing other stuff. So I would really love to see more Heretic stuff, way more Hexen stuff, because Shadows of Kronos was awesome from Kaiser, and I want more of that shit.
Hexen, it's like there are like 5 Hexen fans in existence, and I will admit I am one of them. But the thing about Hexen is that there is something really, really good just underneath, and it needs a lot more polish and a lot more love to really drag it out. Because the base concept itself, rather than going from level to level like most Doom mods, you just have this overworld and you enter into individual dungeons with medieval weapons. It's like a first-person Zelda. Hell yeah, I want to play that.
Well, I mean, do you think that most people's opinion is just mired in the problems of the level design, but they attribute it to the game? Like they say, oh, Hexen's all this, this puzzle-centric, it's not even puzzles, find the switch that flips the switch that does. But really, that's not the problem of the game. That's just what the game was built into by the level designers. And
there are other issues with the gameplay itself, like the full weapon limit and the fucking minotaurs. Whatever. Horse people.
Yeah, there's like 3 big problems with the game. A, the puzzles, which are not actually puzzles, because back in the 90s we didn't really have puzzles. We followed adventure game logic. Hit something enough times until something else happens, and do it again and again and again until you follow the developer logic. 2, the 4-weapon limit, because let's be blunt, a lot of people, they play these types of games in order to have a wide and varied and interesting arsenal. And the Firestorm and the Arc of Death metal as hell. They are awesome.
The screaming
weapons.
Noises that they make.
They are
Can that even qualify as screaming? It's more of a warbling.
Yeah, it's kind of like whimpering. And then 3, the enemies are just massive tanks. They soak a lot of damage, and several of them have ways to make themselves absolutely invincible.
The developers tried to get around the full weapon problem by tricking us into thinking we had more by binding keys 5 through 0 to items. It's like, you're not getting away with that. I'm not. Repulsion doesn't count. No, I'm not.
No consolation prize, devs.
If there's one thing that I've learned in working on Samsara with Parias the Cleric, cram all of those weapons into one single character, put them on some neat levels with a whole bunch of enemies to mow through, and it is really fun. Everyone loved using the axe to just hack through hordes of imps, just watching everything splatter. That is awesome. That is fun.
Did you say splatter? Did Brutal Hexen? Is that a thing?
Yeah. Yes, it is, unfortunately. It's just as quality as you'd expect.
What was that you were about to say, dude?
Yeah, I was just about to say that this whole there's a ton of all these old school games like Hexen and Heretic. They get shat on, but I think there's actually it's mostly because the map set the map sets just aren't done right to play into the strengths of what the developers were trying to do. And one of the main things that's going into this is the 90s RPG logic. This actually is completely the same when you approach maps as like Memento Mori or something like that, because they still have this 90s RPG logic where you're supposed to look for hidden stuff for a long time and it's considered normal. This wouldn't fly in this age. Like, there's no way someone would accept that you're supposed to find a hidden switch in a fucking corridor. But this was considered normal back then. So that's why you get all these Hexens, Heretics, and Eternal Dooms.
So we just need someone to drag it into the modern age, basically.
Yeah,
one of those 5 interested people.
That's what I guess Rotking Elf gets pissed because.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you warmed up your vocal cords, dude, because you're going to have to keep going with Comatose, I'm afraid.
Damn. So.
Oh, the rest will just fly by.
It's already been an hour and a half, and we're not even halfway through the awards.
We're into Russian Doom. So basically, what Russia is doing to Doom right now is, and they're not completely aware of the fact, as I've been made aware of, they're making huge maps that are somewhat realistic, and it's amazing. Like, on a certain level, it's fucking amazing that they're devoting so much time to just making their maps look as realistic as possible, even if they are vanilla compatible or whatever. They just look like tech bases. I don't know.
Well, entire towns and cities by the looks of Comatose.
Towns and cities.
I mean, they just break the engine until it bends to their will.
Yeah.
they stuff the square key into the round hole.
Like if you open Comatose in Doom Builder will start screaming. Like really, it will start making noises because it's over some of the limits, and it will start just bleeping in panic. So this map it's just one map you get to explore, and it took me like 2 hours to finish the map on the first time. It's inspired by Silent Hill, so you're just in this deeply depressive, dark, industrial-looking city,
being chased by Spectremon.
Yeah, I was trying to avoid that. Thanks.
So it's basically a documentary about life in Russia.
Yeah.
The question is, how exactly do you discuss a map set like this without going into the specters?
Basically, the point is, so let's say it. The monsters are invisible. So you just run around and you're just really panicking and you just have no idea where to hide.
One of the things that really interests me about Comatose and about some of the other entries in the Cacowards this year is how like different international communities have sort of developed their own sort of identity that comes out in their maps, like their own sort of common tropes. Like you can see, you mentioned with the Russian community, they get into the big and elaborate and real world inspired design.
Yeah, that's probably why I got so tongue tied about it, because it's just, I don't know, it's a piece of art. That's like half of people who will play the map will probably hate it, because invisible monsters, come on, that's pretty cruel and unfair. And
it could be worse. It could be the Z-Doom stealth monsters.
Right. It's a personal experience, and Lenos is completely devoted to that. He's like a guy who doesn't talk with the community. He just puts out a map, and here you go, just enjoy that. And it's kind of tough to explain the stuff.
I think it's probably a good moment to, since we are sort of doing this in order, but we can put the Mapper of the Year award right here and talk about that and what it means really to give an award to someone who's contributed just a couple of maps to the community, because I think it's important when so much work gets put into just one effort, because I guess it was unspoken logic that you had to be in some ways prolific throughout the year in order to be awarded Mapper of the Year. And then Lanus comes along and proves it's all wrong by putting so much work into just one creation.
I can speak about this
Yes.
confidently, actually.
I'm sure you can.
Yeah. The idea was that basically Lanus did only like 3 maps in the entire year. That was the Cometos map, it was the Uratuki map,
Lilium.
and Lilium. All 3 of them were completely different. Like that was the driving point that me and KMX really loved about Lanus mapping. You have Cometos being the mysterious experience with epic scale, and then you have Uratuki, which is just a completely linear gameplay through a pretty much straight line. Like you have that joke about 2015 design FPS or whatever, where you have just a straight line. That's Uratuki. You just go through a straight line and you kill Mancubus and
with the Doom equivalent of cutscenes.
Yeah. It's just. And then there's Lilium, which just took another completely different route. It's kind of like Cometos in the vibe, but it's much more gameplay oriented. Like you get more fights and you get more planning from Lanus.
And you get world building as well. I was quite ashamed, honestly, after I'd played through it for the first time, taking something like 50 minutes and possibly longer, and picking up what I thought to be a lot of cool little bits of world building, only for KMX to come back and just say, hey, you missed X, Y, and Z, you missed reference to this, you missed writing on the wall. It's like, how much detail has this guy put into creating such a piece of literature?
I was just starting, but it was actually why we gave him the Mapper of the Year, was because he has this mindset of putting his little ideas into the maps, and it's just scribbling on the wall, or he has the QR codes of like you're supposed to just snap it with your cell phone while you're playing, and just it's it's
KMX had a browser open throughout the entire process.
Songs, like
oh god,
it's songs from anime. You're like, fuck off. Like it's completely breaks.
Now
the
I remember why I was vouching for Skillsaw. God damn it! About face.
But the idea,
brilliant.
Just the fact that he puts that into the map, like no one ever before did this, like being so passionate about the message. I still don't understand what the final thing in Lilium means, like where you just defeat the spider mastermind, and then there's like a line of specter soldiers you can't kill or anything. They just stand there and block your way, and it's like is it a tribute to something? And I don't know. It's amazing on some level that it's deeply personal, and even if you don't understand it fully, you just have to admire it. Like the amount of artistic value he puts into the map set.
Well done. You got there in the end. I mean, I'm not. We can't really be accused, I guess, now of not being politically minded. The Cacowards. There's a lot of that to be found here.
Oh damn!
But
I'm
not so
sure there's a
shoehorned.
lot of politics are going right into there, but I'm not sure what they are.
Well, that mastermind was standing right outside Parliament, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. He's the mastermind is fucking just standing under the Russian flag, and you defeat him, and something happens, and I don't know what, but you're doing something
then you're elected
political.
president.
Oh yes.
So that's Mapper of the Year, also covered along with Comatose. So if you haven't checked it out already, Lenos, I think he did get a couple of mentions in the mentionations thread throughout the year by a couple of people. So some people were clearly on board with that sort of thinking, which is great to see.
He doesn't even like. He congratulated Wraith on getting the award for Alpha Accident, but he didn't even acknowledge that he got an award himself. That's just.
You think that's more because he feels it's uncomfortable with it, or rather that
I have no idea.
Of course. Let's move on to MyAsma now.
Wait, what? There are other maps in his Cacowards?
Oh, it just goes on forever. I can't even see the horizon, to be honest. I think that's yeah. So MyAsma is a single level release by Tourniquet. It was actually supposed to be the first in a very, very small series of super levels, all under the name MyAsma, although he didn't actually clue us into that fact beyond like one post quite vaguely. So I actually thought for the entirety that it was just a single map that hadn't been uploaded to id games. He has now uploaded it to id games after the Cacoward was given out. So whoops. But this is a single level in, I don't want to say in the Sunlust style anymore, because just like how after Scythe came out and the ideas that were previously known to Eric Arm just became owned by the community and such, and they began to replicate it so that it became part of Doom culture, I guess. Seems to be the same thing happening here with the likes of Ribix and Danley's work having such influence, and also with the likes of Skillstar, I think. Possibly for different reasons, though. This plays like Sunlust in a way, but it's its own thing. Did anyone else get to play MyAsma by Tourniquet?
I got a little bit way in, and then I noticed that my dude had died quite often.
Gotcha!
The description says it's like Ribix got drunk and banged Jade Earth, and honestly, this is very much on the point. It's got Jade Earth's aesthetic, but Ribix's unique and brutal playstyle that is just out to kill the player.
It's probably worth mentioning then, because this did get put in at the 11th hour, which is my fault. I had written out an entire article for Warp House, which was the Cacowards one. So that was a full 500 words that at the 11th hour I took. And no one else prompted me to do it. It's just like, holy shit, I forgot about MyAsma. So that's just a window into our incompetence right there. But which isn't to say that that's just a testament to the amount of quality stuff we got there this year.
So actually, what you're saying that the snubbing didn't go in the direction of Deck Gone Bad or Blade of Agony. it was between MyAsma and Warp House. That was what the drama was.
Pretty much. But we'll get to that shortly as well.
I'm going to have to play MyAsma once I finish Swim with the Whales. One day I'll get past the first room.
Yeah, the entire first map.
I think the first room in Swim with the Whales has no monsters.
Well, the first map is just... the first map has no monsters, but the second map is when it properly starts, and you step through the first door, and you are being hit by 50 monsters from 7
and you become a
angles.
decoration. Yeah.
This is actually something that's quite a bit of a problem with the community of these challenge maps. That you're like, okay, to understand where this map is coming from, I need to play these map sets that are the inspiration, and then you start playing those. And then you realize that, oh God, this is going to take me days of pain just to get through.
I've lost count of how many times I've been turned into wallpaper in the last 30 seconds.
Because all of them are challenging, just torture.
That is a very popular sentiment, though, in the community. That why is all the good-looking stuff the hardest?
Yeah,
it's because if you're a good level designer, it's because you've become a good player. Usually, most of the time, it would be unheard of to be just crafting these mesmerizing landscapes, and then you just shit at Doom. That's impossible. You need to have played the game for so long for that to be the case. At the same time, though, you have ancient aliens.
Ethel.
And Ethel. Wow. Okay.
There's also the thing where you are always better at your own maps because you know where everything is and when everything happens.
And especially when it's so orchestrated, like we've been talking about. And since we're comparing it to Sunlight, MyAsma, for all its non-linearity, is quite orchestrated. It's a sausage string of encounters, basically. Only the sausage string sort of overlaps itself, so it's a tangled sausage string. Does that make any sense?
But then again, I'm American, so yeah, sausage is like part of my
I
daily
mentioned
diet.
sausage too many times, finally.
Got to bring home the bacon somehow.
So MyAsma, for those who haven't played it, it came out in, I think, March, fairly early in the year, so once again, shame on me for not picking that out. I suspect, since it caters to a specific crowd, I guess, that is nonetheless getting larger for all the influence that it's having. Everyone who is potentially interested in a level like that will have played it already, but to the rest of you, get good. Because there's a lot of quality stuff.
Oh, damn. Bringing out the heavy guns.
Now, it only gets worse from here, folks. Okay.
If you can't complete MyAsma, just don't bother with the rest of the review.
No, I don't want to skip over Alpha Accident. Although we have in part already covered sort of why it is the rationale behind something like this getting an award with Nihility. This integrates alpha elements and some really ambitious layouts and design, which I think is what really tips it over the edge. This is more KMX is picking, and I was actually unable to play the whole of it, which is unfortunate because he informs me that really the chewy bits, the tasty bits, come right at the end, like the last 3 or 4 maps where things just spiral out of control into these giant labyrinth-like mazes. So, anyone else played Alpha Accident and can inform me as to what I've been missing with those last few levels?
Not me. I'm sorry.
I started, but then I just died in the arse and had to do real life stuff.
In the arse specifically? Oof.
Yeah, arse death is not something you want to go through. It's
wow, you actually took the angle I offered.
Yeah, it's sort of like losing a child, a flatulence child.
Okay.
But then I look at the Alpha Accident article, and I look slightly to the right, and there is Shadow of the Wool Ball, which I played voraciously.
Yes. We're only 2 away from your chance to let live. Yes, it is. Hold on, right. Actually, we're 1 away because I'm pretty sure we could talk about Japanese community project. Although, just in closing on Alpha Accident, before we really opened it, to be honest, that's really sad. Really, really sad.
Yeah. Sad.
The number of everyone's grown tired of E1 Remix, right? So except for obviously a small subset who continue to come back to like KMX, and no doubt it has its fans. If something like this is getting awarded, that tells you something, right? There must be a degree of just quality level design that
there are still people making E1 interesting.
And yeah,
there we go.
KMX was really passionate about the award, so I trust the dude like 100% of the way. Like,
yeah, KMX is like one of those guys where even if you disagree with his opinions, the way he lists everything out, you can just generally go, yeah, I can see that. That's fair. And, I mean, I do feel kind of bad that we can't really give Alpha Accident the love it deserves, but the thing about the Cacowards is, like, for all of the 10 winners, well, in this case 11, for the 10 winners that we play, there's been 50 to more that we've played to check out, and we just went, nah, this isn't gonna work. So, it's like...
yeah, someone's always passionate about it more than the others. It's just about that something's just so strong that someone will going to push it through. And Alpha Accident, despite none of us actually playing it, KMX was really strong about this one. So
yeah, at some point we just basically go, okay, there's no way I can play this. I'll trust you.
Right.
I should probably clarify that it's not true to say that people are fed up with E1. It's more the homages that people tend to show that people are getting sick and tired of. I'm always down for a bit of knee deep. I'm always knee deep for a bit of Japanese community project.
You're always up for diss.
Hey, it's your guys' time to shine. I'm gonna go grab a glass.
Boy, the JPCP.
Oh,
JPCP.
So I mentioned earlier that the international Doom communities bring their own sense of character to their projects. We mentioned it earlier with the Russian community with Comatose. And the Japanese community project is also it has a very specific character to it. And as KMX mentions, that character is sort of cheeky. It's sort of straightforward Doom gameplay, but it has this sort of unique, slightly quirky feel to the way the levels are laid out, the way the levels are designed, beyond just most of the level designers being amateurs, more or less, newcomers coming in.
Hi, 私は Terminus 13です。よろしくお願いします。誰からこのマップセは本当に面白いです。我々はそれとても楽しいです。
No!
All right, so enough about
How
that.
dare you? I've never been so insulted in my life.
Honestly, that's really the big thing about JPCP, because it's completely out of left field from a group that not only is incredibly interested in Doom, but really likes making stuff for Doom. And because of this language barrier, we've never known anything about it beforehand. Well, I mean, that's not entirely true. We have known a little bit about the Japanese audience. There was Tatserd Kako. He's actually a active member of the community, and there's rather infamous Japanese...
I was in contact with Tatserd. He really knows what he's doing. And he's the leader of the project, as far as I know.
Yeah. He was the leader, he was the head editor, and he really held everything together. And it's just one of the big things, because of the language barrier, is that a lot of their creativity isn't really influenced by ours, because so many people in the West have written up lots of guides how to make maps, how to detail maps, how to style maps, how to make maps look pretty, how not to make maps. And then there's this community that just completely does their own thing.
Right. I mean, it seems in Doom World, at least, when a new guy comes along and here's my first time map, folks. He gets pushed into a queue, like the initiation process, and then here you can imagine this production line of stamping metal and conveyor belts and stuff as he comes out the other side, a brand new member of Doom World.
Memphis was right the whole time.
But it seems to me in Japanese community project, and indeed the Japanese community, there's a much more, I don't want to say laissez-faire, like as has been said, cheeky. There's just the idea that the Doom, hey guys, we're still mapping for this 23-year-old game. I mean, isn't that great? Isn't that fun? So let's like treat it like with the fun it deserves and not be too serious
look
about
what
it.
we can do. Like not just just making easy jokes, but also like this is actually pretty cool inside of the engine. Like still surprising us with what the Doom engine can pull off.
I think probably what everyone knows about the map set the most, at least the people that have played it, what everyone remembers the most is the Creepy Bone map, the comic that just goes
when you just turn on the map and you just see the comic. That's just so amazing.
And I was talking with Kurashiki a little bit about the design process behind JPCP, and she said that was actually one of the biggest philosophies behind the design, if you could say the project even had a quote-unquote philosophy in the first place.
That's interesting.
They just wanted to make something fun, something memorable, and then build around that. Each map generally has one really cute, really clever, or really interesting moment, and then everything else is just kind of a build around that section. Like, again, the Creepy Bone comic, that is the core of the entirety of Map 8. Everything is built around that, and you constantly go back and forth between that area. And, in fact, a lot of the architecture of the level is spent working around that. And then it all comes to a head in Map 29, the MyAsma, which is just a piecemeal of all of these memorable moments just crammed together into one map.
That's really interesting to me that they would consciously pursue this philosophy as opposed to just sort of happening upon it together. And it also, I guess, ties into the question I think I asked you before, like on when I did that failed Intermission podcast, which was like, do they actually have an epicenter of a community of their own, or did Tatsu just sort of wrangle all these cats? And
they have several sites that they kind of hop back and forth on. Like, the entire development hub for JPCP was held on a message board that Tatserd Kako set up. And every now and then, I'd like to take a peek in, see what they were up to, and sometimes I'd pass over a couple maps to Kinsie, see what he thought. And it was really interesting just watching them go back and forth with these different iterations. I mean, there's a reason I did not personally write the article because, conflict of interest and all that. I'm like friends with half the mappers. But even from an outside perspective, there's a real charm to watching a megawad progress from the ground up and seeing what they actively excise from a project and what they choose to keep in. And straight from the get-go, Toasty, he really wanted this Creepy Bone comic. I mean, that was something he was really proud of, and he posted all about it on Twitter, on the message board and everything. And Tatserd was like, yeah, this is really cool. Build a map around it.
Everyone was accommodating. That's great. I mean, there was no there was no silly guideline or anything that says no, you must stick stringently to the rules. It's just there's lots of leeway given for all these cool ideas. That's awesome and refreshing.
I think probably the most quote-unquote Western style dev was Bravo Jr., also known as Mambo, and he's very much Ribbix inspired. I mean, he loves Ribbix a lot. But even with his maps, a lot of them tend to be very focused on a single objective. Like the one Emerald map, which name I can't remember at the moment, but you...
Yeah, a Resplendent Emerald Green, I think it was called.
Yes, Resplendent Emerald Green. I mean, either way, I just say that green map and you instantly know what one. Yep. But even that, it's focused on the gimmick, find all the Commander Keens, hunt them down. And it's built entirely around that.
And it creates an interesting gameplay mechanic that isn't seen in many other maps, just reusing this old Doom 2 Easter egg in a new and interesting way.
And then another one, My Fave by Kurashiki, she takes an old TNT puzzle and just twists it.
Oh yeah, with the slightly different blue torches.
Yeah, the slightly different torches. I mean, you run into that area, you see the torches, you run in and die, and you go, wait, what? What the hell? What the hell is this? But then you pause for a little bit, you look around the area, and you go, oh, I see. And that's really interesting. The sort of level design that isn't just entirely run and gun the entire way, but they're broken up each time with these little gimmicks. Look at the torches. Hunt down the Commander Keens. Etc., etc.
I'd say Kura is actually on top of the gimmicky stuff because she just can't keep herself out of the cheeky stuff. Like,
all of her maps have very cute drawings.
Yeah. Like secrets being cakes and whatever. No,
all I'm reminded of is the push map when you mentioned cake.
Yeah, it's just going to be cheeky with her.
It's a labor of love, and not just that, it's a labor of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I agree with that.
These guys didn't go in expecting that it would have the reception that it did. In fact, I'm not sure any of them expected to have any reception at all, because going back to the original point, you have this map set completely out of left field from a country that people just don't expect any first-person shooter content from at all, and surprise, it's really good.
Oftentimes, when you get something like this that just lets loose, it's surprisingly hit and miss, unsurprisingly hit and miss. And I feel like for the flaws that do crop up in some maps, it's just overwhelmed by this sense of fun that is just ostensibly just all over the project. So it's really easy to overlook those and just enjoy for all the flaws that it has.
That's really the entire thing in a nutshell. It's not a perfect project by any stretch of the imagination. It's unpolished, it's just raw, but at the same time, it's fun. It is very fun, and ultimately, that's really what matters when it comes to a map set. You could have a beautiful, well-defined, well-modeled, with all sorts of custom resources, all sorts of new content, with 20 different million mappers all working on one single thing, all sorts of new gameplay mechanics and everything.
Is this a segue?
Not really.
Well, I mean, I was going to say, with that logic, why didn't we award Killing Adventure 2? Because it falls into the same camp.
You are listening to Doom Radio. This episode is getting kind of long-winded, so now might be a good time to pause and take a breather. What? Back so soon? Okay, here's more Doom Radio.
Hi, Kinsie. Hi, how you doing?
Hello.
You feeling right? Do you want a glass of water or something? Maybe some aspirin?
Give me a second.
I mean, let's just give the overview here, because we wouldn't be doing our job on this podcast if we weren't giving some insight into how this got ordered. Okay, so Scuba was adamant, and Scuba has a certain. I think he called us recalcitrant minds, which is a pretty cool word to use. And we were indeed resisting authority with our idea that perhaps Blade of Agony shouldn't crop up. But such as a subjective nature, as it should be as the Cacowards, even though it wasn't really a group decision, it finds itself where it is. And it's not, I mean, reading his article, it's not difficult to disagree with a lot of what he supports in the map sets for the impact that it has, and how you would point it out to someone who's curious as to what Doom's up to these days, and they would probably be impressed. They wouldn't really care much about how the models don't match up with the super low detail sprites from Wolfenstein 3D, for example. They'll overlook that shit. So perhaps there is something to be said about the community having accrued as much preference as it has over these many years, for finding all these flaws in Blade of Agony, where someone who's just new or was returning to the game would see and just be blown away by it, as Scuba plainly was, because he probably hasn't played, if I'm honest, most of what or all of what has been awarded this year. On the other hand, maybe I'll just step out of the way here because I think there's something coming.
I fucking hated Blades of Agony.
Okay, I'm going to be devil's
So,
advocate. I'm going to be like the Scuba Steve here, and come on, fight me, Term. Come on.
Honestly, let's put aside my raging hate boner for a moment, and that's going to be incredibly difficult, but the thing about Blade of Agony, earlier I brought up the whole thing that sometimes we don't play everything, we don't give it a fair shot, and in the end we just go to this one person and say, okay, I trust you. This Blade of Agony, it was kind of the exact opposite situation. Pretty much almost all of it had played it, and out of all of us, one single person genuinely loved it the entire way. We had reactions the entire spectrum. We had people that thought it was good. We had people that thought it was okay. We thought it was people that had it mediocre. And then we had people that absolutely hated everything it did.
You.
Out of all of the... yes. Out of the entire group, we had just one person that genuinely liked it, and he would fight the entire way. Even in the end, we just decided, okay, we can at least give it honorable mention in order to appease Scuba, and he pushed it into the Cacoward slot anyway, writing up some sort of bullshit about how we were out of time and we would award it next year or something. It's like, what the hell? No!
Honestly, if he tried to push it into next year, it probably wouldn't win, because I've seen the first level of the next episode that wasn't part of the official release, and oh man.
But on the other hand, I have to play right now. I have to play the Devil's Advocate. Basically, it really is the most ambitious project of the last year. No matter what you say, there's not one single project that would be a bigger accomplishment in Doom. It's just fucking huge.
If there's one thing that I can say about Blade of Agony that is positive, it is that it is a spectacle.
Yeah,
it is.
It is
the big blockbuster thing. Pretty much every visual effect, every coding effect, pretty much every vaguely interesting trick that the Doom community has thought up has been incorporated into this, for better or for worse. And it comes off as something that is very different from traditional Doom gameplay.
Right, and actually, this is the point where I was really considering whether I support the ward or not, because I wouldn't support a ward that plays like shit. And considering that Blade of Agony really changes the core gameplay a lot, I was expecting it to play like COD or something like that, because all of the gameplay gets turned to actually projectiles. You don't get any hit scans at all.
Yeah.
Everything is projectiles right now. So basically, you just see a Nazi and he shoots a really fast projectile weapon, and it changes the gameplay at a really core element. It's completely different game from Doom.
Honestly, the thing is, we can't even credit him for that, though, because that's pretty much listed 90% from Wild Weasel's Nazis.
Yeah, that was used as a base.
Okay, I get that. But it plays fine. I didn't hate it. It's okay. I expected it to play like shit, and it played fine. I kind of liked how it felt to shoot the Nazis and just run around feeling all Rambo. It was fine. So when I realized that this cleared out, then it was just where the fine points of the shit I hated more important than the cool stuff. And I find myself agreeing with Scuba then that this actually is pretty cool, despite all the stuff I hate about it. And it's a very delicate process right there, because I hate
It's a project in a very weird place.
Yeah, it's such a broken thing. It's like I hate so much about it, and I still agree with the award.
The thing that really gets me about what a lot of defenses of it amount to, boy, that came off a lot more aggressive than intended. One of the things that I really am not sure I agree with when a lot of people say in its favor is the spectacle factor of it, because, yeah, there is a lot of spectacle behind it. It is very much, yeah, it's cinematic. It's very much something you would point at and go, ooh, look how pretty it is.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I'm with you on that. I mean,
well, we've got a lot of other WADs that look absolutely fantastic. I mean, recently I had a comparison between Ancient Aliens and Blade of Agony, and Blade of Agony, it was just so dark and muddled and grimy, and Ancient Aliens, you can very clearly make out the environment, where you're supposed to go, what you're supposed to do. And
Ancient Aliens and Blade of Agony sort of come at things from different directions. Ancient Aliens is using sort of the same sort of limitations as the original Doom, but like with different art direction.
I'd say the same, like the best parts in both mods come from the same sensibilities. Like the most fun I had in Blade of Agony was when I could just cut loose and kill the fucking Nazis by trackload. Just fucking go nuts on them and shoot all the weapons and everything. And the bits I hated the most was when I had to inspect, the ground for mines or whatever, and go all like careful because of the sniper alleys. Fucking come on!
The mine detector has a special place in my own personal gameplay.
Has there been ever a game that had a good sniper section? I don't think so.
Yes, Sniper Elite 2.
I claim there was never a game that had a proper sniper section. Because
Blade of Agony takes a lot of influence from those sort of early to mid 2000 World War II games. Your Medal
of Honor, Allied Assault. That's the one game that's in the center of everything.
And it just takes from that sort of like era and genre for better or for worse.
Yeah.
And it's the parts that are for worse that stick in the throat and are remembered for longer than the better.
I hate the parts that are like the invasion, like that's just plain terrible. The minefields, the sniper alleys, all of that is just bad. Yet the core gameplay is actually pretty cool. And if there was like 3 different map sets of this style, and probably the Blade of Agony would lose because the other guys would make better work of the same stuff. but it's just like no one ever tried this scope before. So you kind of cringe, like giving the award away, but it's still such a fucking magnificent scope that they deserve it. Sorry, I'm with Scuba.
That ties into the second thing that I was going to bring up. B, if we're awarding something based pretty much on the spectacle, what does that say about the emphasis upon fun and gameplay? Because if we're awarding something based upon spectacle, that is the start of a very, very slippery slope that goes down.
Yeah,
I think when these words are used, I think it's for more than just how things look, and I know, as is the case in a lot of, frankly, all Torment Awards, if you go digging beneath the surface, you'll find much more to hate in the itty bitty details. Whereas if you sort of a glancing shot over the top of it will be impressive to any layman.
Ultimately, it's going to be one of those things where there really isn't a consensus. But honestly, I think at the end of the day, we can all just be confident and rest assured and trust the guy that gave the award to Knee Deep and Zero.
Yes. The guy who not only gave the prize to Knee Deep in Zedum, he also gave the prize to Stronghold. Am I not mistaken?
I think it was Ultimate Doomer. No? Oh God, I can't remember.
Oh,
I mean, if there's one thing that Scuba does offer, because when I know we've talked about how the Cacowards and the beginnings of the format were put together at a time when, as Terminus says, mapping was really the chief interest. But at the same time, it was also planned as a sort of thing that people who weren't really interested in Doom, but were once a year when they on Doom's birthday, they checked out the Cacos to see what was cool and played that and pissed off again for 365 days. Scuba fills that role as someone who could just take a cursory glance at what's been out there, and then he satisfies that role. So I mean, since this is the podcast when we're dissecting why things get selected, that's the angle that Scuba came in from, and you can kind of understand it in that respect.
He slapped us and said, "Yeah, this is what regular people like. Get out of your stupid, entrenched ways."
If we're looking at that from that sort of layman's perspective, then what's the difference between that and the quote-unquote popular award? Because if we're going with what the regular person likes, then wouldn't that be what the matter?
64.
I wasn't going to say it.
I'm trying.
No, come on. Honestly, we have standards.
So basically, come next year, look forward to the second largest nomination, H Doom, to get its own personal award. Ultimately, it's really a sticky situation, or really a weird situation. It's really ultimately worth saying that the Cacowards are all just personal lists of opinions. I mean, a lot of us, we kind of toss jokes around about how we're the Doominati influencing the future of the community and nothing happens without our say-so, but that's really what the Cacowards just boil down to. Lists of opinions from guys that said, hey, this is cool, we played it, we liked it, we think this is the cream of the crop. And that's Scuba's own personal cream of the crop. And like most opinions, we disagree with it. Well, I disagree with it. And that's really ultimately all it boils down to. Just someone disagrees with an opinion someone else put online.
It's been fun enough to give the word out.
Yeah.
And it had those fucking doves.
The dogs are,
What is it with this community and dogs?
Okay, Okay, so, Do, what can you tell us about the multiplayer awards and how dead they were this year?
Oh, are we moving on? Or...
Yeah. Some other stuff I'm not responsible for.
Okay, so let's sum this up. Aeon DM and 32 and 2416 were probably the best and probably the only notable map sets that were released this year. Ergo, they get the awards.
Mm-hmm. That was actually also Progressive Duel 2, but yeah, it was like, Term, do you want a second award this year? And he was like, yeah, next year. So everyone who feels scorned about not getting the second Morth Play award, it's because Term was such a bitch and didn't take the second award. Yeah, I had nothing. Like, of course, like all those two projects were pretty much what the entire community got up to in 2016. Like, Aeon the DM is a no-brainer. MXU, they are pros. They are really good at this stuff, and they know how to create great maps. And the story. And 16 was actually a huge surprise to me, because when Shakotan decided that the next theme would be CTF, I thought it would be a giant failure, because there was not a good CTF 32 in 24 ever. All of them were failures with just, maybe a few maps that were okay. This one turned out superb. You have you can play throughout the entire map set, and it will feel fine, and that's something amazing. Like, all of the mappers broke their back to make the maps really cool. And I have to respect that. So even though I'm kind of like incestuous in that project, because I'm part of the testing process, this totally deserved the award.
Reading the article was interesting for me, because it kind of reminded me of the article I wrote for Zedium Community Project a couple of years ago, because there were all these authorial fingers in the pie. And that's a recipe for disaster if it's not governed well enough. And
congratulations, you didn't shit yourself.
Kind of. I mean,
there you go.
And reading your article, I did kind of get that impression. That the award was half for that reason, but you're saying that it was actually quite, use the word superb, like in its own right. Is it actually a really good set?
If a CTF WAD doesn't entirely fail, it's a magnificent success.
There we go.
If you go through the entire history of, you get like one or two good maps out of all of them. It's such a minuscule success rate that anything that isn't complete shit is just
that
great.
GIF that you showed of Joe Elliott's flag on a conveyor belt, that wasn't from this set, was it?
Yeah. Oh wait, that's from.
No, what have you done? Oh no.
Yeah, but that's Joe Elliott. Come on, that's like the master mapper of all time.
Customary.
Aeon DM, I actually haven't played that as much as I would like. Everyone who came across it just recognized how good it is. So I guess we also should hire better people than me.
Is this a resignation podcast?
No, I'm totally going to
botch it again the next year.
No, I'm going to do the niche WADs or whatever.
Clearly dissatisfied with your multi-awards camp. You've expanded. Other awards now. I guess I get to pick and choose when I can introduce topics because I'm cutting out. Grand total of 7 times now, by the way. I hope you're keeping count at home. How can I get to double digits? Probably.
Yep.
Other awards, best gameplay mod. You two can go hog wild. I understand that this was also something Trixie, along with a mock award for this year, but for very different reasons. Because to some extent, it's not really complete.
The issue with Doom for Doom is less the fact that there's... Well, let's be frank. After John Romero, id Software getting pinned to the front page of Reddit and all sorts of other mainstream news sites, they recognize Doom for Doom. Getting a Cacoward is kind of a formality. But actually, now that I think about it, it's less of a formality because now DB Thanatos and Major Cook, they are like the only people with the questionable honor of having both a worst WAD and now best WAD award under their belt.
Now there's a piece of trivia.
It's a very interesting piece of trivia. But one of the big things about Doom for Doom that I was kind of wary about is that as we speak, it is currently undergoing a massive rewrite and rehaul to adapt to GZ Doom's new Z-script system. Yeah, and it is very much an unstable script platform with an unstable engine that is currently gutting itself in order to accommodate this new feature. And so I'm kind of worried if maybe a month or two down the line the project kind of collapses in on itself because of this. But for now, Doom for Doom...
Yeah, we're not reviewing the future.
Yeah, we're not reviewing the future. As it stands now, Doom for Doom, it's great. It is, like I mentioned in the article, there's been all sorts of attempts at trying to recreate Doom 4 within the Doom engine. And obviously a lot of people have noted, played, and made fun of Mark's attempt. And Zazer had his own stab with Argent before seeing Doom for Doom and deciding to go off in his own direction. And Doom for Doom, it's doing it, and it's doing it thoroughly. There is no other equivalent. It is exactly as it says. It's Doom for Doom.
Well, does the okay, I mean, I know we brought it up as a joke, the notable distinction of Aeons of Death, but I mean, what I do understand is that it is quite competently coded for all the stuff that's in there.
Oh, very much
so. I imagine that comes into play to create such a product this quickly.
I think probably because I work with a lot of this stuff, because I mean I love taking this engine and sort of stretching it to see what it can do. I'm kind of like the opposite of Doom World mentality, as it were, so sometimes I kind of feel out of place. But one thing that I really, really love is when people, they just push this engine to the limit, and they just do all sorts of things that are absolutely impossible. There's another mod that I occasionally bring up called Black Warrior, and it is it is absolutely incredible in what it does with the engine, because it does so many things that are normally considered absolutely impossible. The dynamic music system that segues in with the existing map music. It takes midis and
you said SIGs again. SIGs.
And it just melds it into the action music once you get into a battle, and it just does it seamlessly. And there's also the time slowdown system, and there is no way to normally do a time slowdown system. There are 2 settings in Doom. You either stop and go. There is no in between, and this guy pulled it off. Now, gameplay-wise, it's a mess. It's a complete mess. You play this thing and you have no clue what's going on. You have no clue what's happening. You're trying to dodge and you just kind of dance in place for a little bit. But you look under the hood and bloody hell, this is crazy. And Doom for Doom, it takes that and it mashes it with good gameplay on top. It looks well, it plays well, and it's coded very well. Aeons of Death alone, it did all sorts of things that, again, thought completely impossible in the engine. I think probably the latest build, it ports some weapons from the new Painkiller Hell and Damnation, but probably the most interesting weapon to me is it launches a rope at an enemy, a sort of plasma rope that latches onto them, and it just stays between you and them. It arcs and it turns and it bends as you move around, but it's still connected.
Is that like an Overwatch thing?
There probably will become the next update, but that sort of shit is how? How do you do that? And Major Cook and DB Thanatos, they've been wrangling this sort of thing, cramming in all sorts of references to old shooters and new shooters, and just cramming it sort of haphazardly into this mod. So you give them a clear direction to focus on and a clear goal to do, and they just kind of cracked their knuckles and said, yeah, we got this, no problem.
I can see a lot of people sitting in my camp seeing this getting an award and then wondering how they can use it with levels. I guess if anyone from Doom Worlds would be interested, that's the angle they would come in from. So I'm sort of wondering what compromises Thanatos made in order to have it fit Doom, I guess, as opposed to just incorporating all of those cool features from Doom 2016 into the engine and being impressed with the coding.
So how do we put Doom inside of Doom?
It's the Matryoshka question.
Honestly, I think that's because a lot of the more advanced features, they're fit in C-bars. So you have the ability to just go full modern or full purist if you'd like. You can turn... One of the most notable features is, the wall climbing, the double jumping, and obviously you take that, you put that in Scythe 2, you got a broken map set on your hand. But
okay, so I see what you're saying. So there's two modes. One in which you can be impressed with how all of these features are able to be made manifest in Doom using all these CVARs and the like. And then you have this other mode where it's actually might be usable if you create a map set for it.
No, you can play it even on normal map sets. You take, again, Scythe 2. I'm a fanboy for Scythe 2. It's my absolute favorite map set of all time. You do that, you do a run, you turn off jumping, turn off double jumping, turn off glory kills. You've got some rehauled weapons on your hand, and that's pretty much it. And
cool.
The base encounters, they're still pretty much the same. Again, you can turn off all the new Doom 4 monsters, and that just leaves you with a nice handful of weapons, and they've still got some really incredible effects and abilities behind them. Because you can actually change how they behave, too. You can actually add a triple shot function to the shotgun. You can give it explosive buckshot. You can give the double shotgun, you can give it shredding buckshot.
Yeah, they added and expanded to the upgrade system from the new game.
So you can have it customize the mod so that it's only the weapons and nothing else. Everything else in a map set, perfectly fine.
At some point, the Doom 2016 stops updating. And so, does this project continue to snowball? Does it go in its own direction? What do you think happens there? Given your
there's
knowledge
already got a couple of its own things in it. There's one extra rare weapon in there that's completely original. And I think they'll just sort of tweak and adjust things to sort of continue on with the sort of attitude, I think.
But there is another direction that it could possibly go, because Doom 4 Doom is also the second gameplay mod to have this very questionable honor in which people are actually making maps specifically for it. And so what might be possible is that they might go the full total conversion route rather than just content to be a gameplay mod. They might have a full recreation of Doom 4 maps, weapons, enemies, etc. in this engine. At that point, I'd imagine ZeniMax would probably have to take note, but
do their thing.
I don't think ZeniMax actually likes Doom, guys. What do you think?
I think we should carry on to the Mordeath Award.
I would love to at least swing one punch at Zenimax's face before going down in a blaze of glory.
Well, you can think of something over the next 30 minutes. just sneak a left hook in there somewhere. Oh. Talking about, not being biased or impartial and not having an impact on the awards. I mean, needless to say, I gave myself an award for Doom to the way I did, so I'm already compromised and corrupt. But here, yet again, with more death, I am involved. This time, sort of, as I say in the article, sounding the death knell. So, Doom the way I did Lost episodes. This is Zeta's initiative, and no one asked him to do it. He's a very generous soul who doesn't often get a lot of credit for a lot of the smaller things that he does in the community, this being one of them. Although I doubt you could call Lost episode small. It's 45, way more maps than that. 6 episodes. Yikes. Collecting all of the runoff from the Doom the Way I Did project back in 2011, released in 2012. And it gets the Morth for 2 reasons. The first being that it was completed before it started, because it's a compilation. It's supposed to just collect everything, make sure it's all in working order. It should take a third of the time of the project that spawned it. But Caesar decided, it was destined for bigger things, and so he ballooned it out to this crazy ambitious. He was adding more maps, going through all the individual levels and adding skill settings and multiplayer, then testing it, and then rending halls happened, which is really the big hold up. And initially, the one reason that it was going to get in Morth, and not for the silly fact that it was basically finished before it started. This is one map by one of the maps that was going to be remastered, and Caesar is notoriously slow in some quarters. He gets to do things on a whim, after maybe sometimes a month, a year, however long. Amazingly, here he was actually pretty quick. But he forked over one map to this guy called Marnotmar, who was a good friend of ours. It's changed his name to Stables recently in the community. How you doing, Stables? An absolute monstrosity that I think completely sapped his creative energies. And then I had to be dragged in to finish it off after 2 years, roughly, of development. It had been broken down, constructed, reconstructed, destructed, swallowed, spat out, regurgitated. Think of all it's reformed, and the original map completely disappeared. So it was, in a sense, it broke all the rules, and we would have been better off starting again. And then it broke all the limits. So Caesar had to come in and then quickly just patch everything up because he has experience with backset and X, knowing what fits vanilla limitations, and we couldn't wrangle that beast. Mm-hmm. So it gets more death for those 2 reasons, really. The first being that, although I understand that there's something called total chaos.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up, actually.
That's, as far as I know, that's still an alpha, so it doesn't qualify.
Yeah, it didn't qualify for being just the first version to come out.
Yeah, it's honestly, I look at the Mordeth Award right now, and I've been kind of reading it over while you speak, and I still really don't entirely get the deal with what happened, because it really just seems like, from someone that's a complete outsider to Doomworld internal politics and events, it really just seems like a map set was expected to come out, someone decided to redo a map, he took a while.
Right. I mean, the initial reason would have been quite poor. I mean, I chose to place emphasis on rending halls because it more it epitomized the real, or it seemed like a ridiculous situation given the real reason why it got a Morth, which is because it was supposed to be something much, much simpler that got dragged out to 5 years because Caesar got overambitious with it. So the Morth Award is less about how long it took to release something and things getting delayed for silly reasons. And although Lost Episodes is really quite a great product in the end, and it's not really silly at all to remaster something like this. It was never supposed to be that. It was really just supposed to be Doom the way it did, run-off maps. These need to get recognized somehow. Let's compile them. Let's release it. And it took 10 times as long as it should have. So, but maybe there's a point. Maybe we need to make that sort of the goal of Morth more obvious, I suppose, to outside readers. I mean, if you're getting confused about them, that's a problem for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
no, I think that the point of the Morth Award itself should be to award something ridiculous that's happening in the community. It's not purely about the time. It's about the story. So if there's enough of a story behind what just happened in that year, I'm completely fine with that. That's why I actually pulled for the change in, so it's not just the longest time running.
The problem is that's for someone that's, again, an outsider, and you just said the real reason is significantly less interesting to write about. The problem is that's really what it seems like to an outsider. This map set took much longer than it took to develop. And even the Mordeth Award description, it's surprise release project with the longest development time. I mean, if we want the Mordeth...
That's an artifact.
Yeah.
The little blurb at the top needs to be changed, in all honesty. That's a carryover from 5 years ago when it really was just about the longest development time.
It should be the bit with the most ridiculous development cycle. Like, we already... did we actually give one to... Doom 2 in name only?
In name only, yes, we did. And the reason for that was because the reason for that, so that was only in development for 2.5 years, which isn't that long.
Yes.
But
That's it.
It went through such a tumultuous, difficult period, and then had the release date forwarded.
Fuck all of the decision they made. Like the entire project is a fucking catastrophe. Yes, that I completely agree with. It's a disaster, and it deserves the award. I also think that Core CTF deserved the award I gave it because the project is still not out.
It's not even actually released?
No.
Then why did it get an award?
Because I was so fucking fed up with the entire project.
If we're going to give awards to projects that aren't even out, how about TNT 2, Devolution?
Oh, well, yeah, but it's not even out. Yeah.
I mean, come on, Brutal Doom got the award, so
hey,
fuck everything.
I'm just saying, if Mordeth gets released in the same year as TNT 2, there will be a fucking fight. I am dead serious.
We're just going to be in a fucking ridiculous situation.
I honestly can't believe that someone actually nominated my game for a Mordeth award. It hasn't even been in development for 1 year, guys. Why are you nominating it for Mordeth?
Yeah. Okay, now we get back to the start.
It doesn't even have a name yet.
Like the initial discussion about nomination and
mentionation,
right? that completely makes it right, because like half of the nominations were from 2016. Another quarter was like not released stuff yet. Mm-hmm. And come on, what's this shit? What are we supposed to do with that?
I would like to nominate Doom GTS for the 2017 award.
Oh yeah, that's
nominate
getting
Doom DTST for transporting the 2017.
No.
Eligible.
Doom GTS. That's the Doom mod that
whoops!
Into you playing as a Ford GTS or
I think we should move on. We've all got the giggles, and Cacowards coming up next, so it's not going to get much fucking better.
Yeah.
Oh god. All right. Okay. So this was difficult.
There was a lot of joke wads released in 2016. There was a lot of joke wads released.
Oh yeah.
This category was an absolute fuckfest. Sometimes literally.
Yes. H-Doom was actually a surprising contender among it. Because
what?
Yeah, H-Doom. It had one of the most nominations, and I kind of discussed it with some of the others for a little bit.
Mentions.
I'm not gonna lie. I think H-Doom is hilarious. It does not take itself seriously. But let's be honest. There's no way it can get an award when it's still just in tech demo state. It's pretty cut and dry there.
Yeah. We need that visual novel entire thing.
Yeah.
Like if you want the award, get that thing done.
Yeah. I mean, Super Shotgun alone. I want to see what can be done with Super Shotgun.
I need to romance Super Shotgun before I get any ideas of awarding this thing. Like,
yeah.
I need that romance thing fleshed out.
Look, until I can slowly insert my shells into Super Shotgun, it's just not 10-10.
Jesus, we haven't even got to the mock award yet. We're just talking about H2M. It's happened.
It's just not done enough. Like, come on, guys.
Honestly, before we move on, I am going to kind of force my hand if H-Doom ever wins. If H-Doom ever wins, I am renaming it the Cacoward. That is it.
I mean, it already is that.
The icon's already there.
What exactly will be the award?
Yes.
Statue like there?
Well, no.
Well, they don't even have to change it.
Yeah, we don't even have to change the graphic.
Just remove the pixels.
We will just uncensor it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Put on your 3D goggles, folks. Put on your 3D goggles.
Look, I'm just saying it's current year. That's all. Anyway, enough about that little fuckfest orgy going on. Ludicrum, that was a real surprise hit. Nobody nominated that. Nobody expected that. In fact, a lot of us weren't even aware of it. Lingika had to bring it to my attention.
What?
Yeah.
I bring it to Lingwikas.
Oh, well, thanks, Du. You saved the mock award. Before then, all of us were kind of debating back and forth about what mock award would be good to give. Because, like I said, 2016 had a lot of options. There were a lot of options. A lot of people were doing their little jokes. And I was really fond of 100,000 Revenants. I was really fond of it. Because the Revenant has become kind of the iconic enemy of the Doom community. Not just the Cacodemon, but I'd say the Revenant is probably more so. Skeletons, they're funny. And of course, everyone remembers the agitating skeleton bit from Rock King's video.
Rock King's fault, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And a map that just glorifies these Revenants. It's like a natural cap. But the thing is, 100,000 Revenants, it's more funny for meta reasons. You have to really understand the bits and pieces of the Doom community behind it. By itself, it's a map with 100,000 Revenants. I mean, it's no different from Nuts.wad. Well, if Nuts.wad was about Revenants. And then there was another option, which was rather infamous for a short period of time. Nature Calls.
Oh, was that actually up for serious consideration?
Scuba Steve was really pushing for it. Scuba was really pushing for it, which I think says a lot about his taste and what he likes.
Oh,
Agony.
That was a low blow. I'm sorry. That was a real low blow. Nature's Call, honestly, it's not something we haven't seen in Terry Wads constantly. It's shit jokes and it's piss jokes and it's dick jokes. That's really it.
It does have one joke that elevates it to high art, though. Pain Elemental vomiting lost souls.
And honestly, I'm not against a good dick joke. I mean, they're really good. You just have to don't be a prick about it.
Something about dicks. Yeah.
I mean, you were just talking about H2M and the Cacowards. There's that.
Did I play my hand too soon?
That's the second time. No.
Sorry, I just had to release it, you know.
Damn.
But
it's not usually like this.
Kinsie is the one.
On the contrary, it is usually like this.
Kinsey's the one that usually bears the brunt of my verbal delinquencies, shall we say. Another one that was pretty popular is Trump Doom.
We're getting into the problematic area.
Trump Doom, let's be honest, as a WAD itself, it's surprisingly fun. The humor, kinda hit and miss. I'd say probably the most humorous part of the area is the quote-unquote social justice warrior difficulty, and that's less because of the content itself and rather because of the way it actually changes the gameplay. So even then, it's less funny because of the jokes and more interesting because of the gameplay. It's something that you'd play not for a laugh, but because, oh, someone took this and made something not awful. not really
You
my
didn't
forward.
shit yourself. Good job.
Yeah, as I said, it's like pretty much a Duke Nukem 3D mod inside Doom. That's not terrible.
The jokes really vary depending upon your political alignment, and let's just leave it at that.
And then there was Seinfeld Doom, which is basically, I remember that thing.
Yeah, that's completely. That's also.
That's just pop culture reference. The WAD.
Yeah, I mean, in one sense, it's about as funny as Brutalist Doom for that, Hey, that's good. There's 5 seconds and then it's escape, hit up once, yes, and then
actually even then, Brutalist Doom is still useful beyond the fact because that palette is really, really good, and that palette has actually been used in several projects that are trying to get a sort of brutalist feel to their design. Because that desaturated sort of grayish palette, it's beautiful. It's really nice. So even in that regard, Brutalist.
So what you're saying, if Seinfeld had his own palette,
maybe if Seinfeld had like the Doom sound font or the Seinfeld sound font for the Doom music, then people would be using it.
Yeah, that would be a huge hit in the.
But yeah, all of this pained rambling basically just to say competition was tough for 2016. And then we've got this last second nomination from 2015. And generally, my own personal philosophy is that Cacoward judging is anything between December of last year to November of this year. And Ludicrum, right from the start, it's great. I'm not sure if I should really go into detail in case people still want to play it after this. Actually, you know what? Screw it. We've already spoiled another map set with the Spectres. I'm going to screw this one. You start up right away. You get the difficulties. They're all ultra-violence. There's one that's Nightmare at the bottom, but every single difficulty, it's ultra-violence. And that, oh yeah, you're in for a good time. And you get this map set right away. You pick up the super shotgun, walls lower, there's revenants all around you. Typical slaughter map fest. And then this wall lowers, and all of these 50 million revenants ambush you. They've been edited, they have 1 HP. And their missiles can hurt themselves. So, you lower down the wall, 50 million revenants scream at you, and then, not a second later, 45 million of them die, because they keep infighting with each other.
Oh, that's what was happening. I played that level like 3 times, and I didn't understand how they kept dying. I shoot my rocket over here, and then I turn 180 degrees, and there's a whole horde dead there.
Everything dies.
They're just taking care of themselves. It's excellent. Yeah. But it's just a great parody, is what I like about it. Mm-hmm. And also, for similar reasons, almost a Brutalist Doom getting the award. But this one's actually playable and not just it's a joke in the title.
It's not only playable, but it's actually legitimately fun. One of the maps where you're fighting against hordes of pinkies and imps, that is one of the most fun I have had in awards for a long time.
Right?
Yes. Because you're taking the rocket launcher and you're launching, and everyone, they have low gravity and the rocket launcher's kickback is amped up. So you are knocking them around with the closest thing the Doom has to a physics engine. You're launching them into the skies, you're launching them into the mountains, and it's so fun.
Yeah, and actually the do no damage. They just go through you. So there's like a massive amount of imps coming at you. But when they actually reach you, they do nothing.
But that in and of itself, it provides its own unique brand of difficulty, because as you're wandering around back and forth, you have to be careful not to rocket launch your own face.
Yeah, it's fucking amazing. And just exploding pinkies. That's just something to be seen. Like them being shot on the surrounding cliffs. That's just one of the best moments I've seen in Doom.
It's incredible.
Warp House is a single map for GC Doom by Ed. That guy who puts out one map every 2 years, and it's bloody amazing. And it was so close. In fact, it was in, as I think I mentioned before, it was in there. It was in the top 10. A marvelous adventure that feels like it should be longer than it actually is. It's 40 minutes of you plowing through this Demosian hell subverting the shores of hell type deal that we're familiar with, but it blends it with all these cool architectural features that GC Doom allows you to make. So you have all these sloped monstrosities and pooling flesh spilling out of every other map orifice, and it's a feast for the eyes in more ways than one, because it is just laden with detail to the point where you might be tripping up over yourself just looking at this stuff, not even moving around in it. I think in the larger article I'd mentioned, I compared it to barnacles like cluttering on the underside of a ship's hull, because there were just that fucking many. It's like he'd just left some algorithm running when the level was being made, and then it just accumulated bits of architectural detail that just clung to the map. That's ugly, but there's a charm to the ugliness in the same way that, you know, you look at the Shores of Hell and you see all this texture mixing, and it just rings true from the nostalgia that we all have for Doom 1. So, did anyone else play Warp House?
I am significantly more familiar with Father Ed's previous works.
And Valhalla and
you really wrapped everything that need to be said quite nicely.
I mean, I just paraphrased my own words from the article, so I cheated. No. THT Threnody, though.
I actually that was a mixed bag.
What is it? What the hell is it?
It was a homage to Ty Halderman, the great pillar of the community, and this entire project was mostly cool. And the best part was the last map, which was by Antares, which is the guy who actually made Ludicrum, and his last map was really beautiful, Shrine to Ty, and it was really touching.
I will also point out that THT Threnody, it is one of the third maps this year to have won a Cacoward by various authors.
Yeah, I heard about the guy.
Mm-hmm. Various authors, probably the most storied and accomplished Cacowards winner yet, gathering over 25 awards to his name.
So I was particularly impressed by the extent, the different ways in which people paid homages, particularly the number of veterans that came out of the woodwork to pay respect, which is great to see. So Didi, for example, I can't remember which map was his. I think it was map 15. Didn't necessarily leave a big impression on me, that one, but it's great to see so many people like that coming out and paying their respects, and also Macedon, although he's always around in the community anyway, so that doesn't really count. Still awesome. So yeah, you had people paying particular homages to maps, so we had Wormhole, but I think most people were happy just to take general inspiration from TNT at large, which makes sense because most people would think Evolution, and Evolution doesn't really have a particular style, just beyond, you know, just being colorful and bouncing it back between quality and feel, I suppose, and being generally quite zany, which is what THT Threnody captured quite well, I think. So that sort of variety is what I think really won me over. Although it was KMX who wrote the article, and he was particularly on board with the map set, and I think did go for a Cacoward initially until a couple of weeks into the selection process. So it was in the mix, but probably a bit too. I mean, it probably succeeded in being what it is too well to be given an award, because no one would actually award Evolution if it was released.
Just map 13. Yeah.
Killed you off.
Yeah.
Did you have some words behind closed doors that I'm not aware of?
Yeah.
Did it involve cults on the back of heads? Hang in there, Doe. Bloodstain. Oh shit, you have an opinion on this as well, don't you? Okay, all right. I'll start. I'll let you formulate
this bit. You segue.
Maybe this bit can take less than half an hour. I got shit to do.
There, someone said
Seriously,
it. Okay.
I went and took a piss break halfway through that THT bit.
And we're in the same shit now. You can just leave for another 15 minutes. Come on. Like,
no, Bloodstain won't take long. Come on, just get your head together. All right. Okay. So this is a Boom Megawad by Pipich, Czech bloke who was around the time of Plutonia 2. And it plays like a time warp, honestly. I was wondering what year I was stuck in when I first fired it up, and I was enjoying myself for the first little bit. Indeed, I enjoyed myself for most of it because I was playing on Hermit Plenty and not on Ultraviolence, as I'm sure, and Do will elaborate, hopefully briefly, in a few short moments.
Okay, I will be really brief. Ultraviolence has too many monsters, and you just
Sardine cans.
You just fucking hate it because you have to you just fight for the weapons you should have by the start for too long. That chain gun, you should start with it. No, you have to kill like 10 Hell Knights with the regular shotgun to get the chain gun. Then you start killing, I don't know, another Hell Knights or whatever to get the super shotgun.
You can't move at the pace you want to move at because the maps insist in their sort of tightly knit playground-like layouts that there's only one way you can move forward, and it's just parting the waves of meat with your pea shoot.
You're just
like a really shitty Moses.
You're just grinding through stuff. You're just grinding through an infinite amount of hit points with inadequate weapons. And if this wasn't the case, if this was like the Hurt Me Plenty difficulty, the standard, this would be elevated by a ton. So for me, this is the map set that got killed.
The map set that never was. Yeah,
it should have been better by all rights, but it hasn't been.
It's the real tragedy of 2016. Have either of you two played Bloodstain? And is the noise from outside the building particularly rowdy regarding this map set?
I played through it with my girlfriend. She liked it. I thought it was pretty neat in the first handful of maps. Around the latter end of the map set, then it kind of got really exhausting because our eyes were just kind of glazed over and we were just kind of roaming from encounter to encounter. It's like, should we continue with this? But we pushed through and finished it, and overall, I mean, Bloodstained, pretty nice first half, latter half, maybe I was just megawad fatigue, but
it really like feels like you're exhausted.
Just quickly in 2 minutes, because you know more about this era. Is this more a product? Is this sort of an archaic approach to design? Is it just revealing more of the era, or is this something that Pipich has done wrong in particular? Because I know he had mentors in Methodist, for example, and Gusta. But what's at fault here? Is it the year or is it Pipich?
I think he took the wrong approach to it. He tried to make it too hard. Like he thought that adding more monsters would add difficulty. Like on Ultraviolence, it needs to be really difficult. So here's just more and more monsters to make it not too easy to pad.
Okay, well, I think that summarizes it pretty efficiently. I was going to say something else, but I think we'll just jump on before I remember what it is, because that'll be bad news.
Next up, Strange Aeons. A full GZ Doom megawad, technically a total conversion because it's got all sorts of new resources, new enemies, new weapons, new textures, new settings, even if all of them are yanked off Realm 667. But it uses them in a rather coherent way, I think. It's very interesting, very in-depth. I liked it quite a lot. And it's all tied together with a nice Lovecraftian story.
This is by Impy, by the way, who is currently undergoing... He's working on... He's a novelist in real life, and he's unique for his trying to foist not voice, because that would be unwelcome. He's trying to implement narrative in a unique way into Doom without being too forcing it upon the player. It works quite
well. He
well.
does that very well, I think.
He does, yeah. I mean, there's his other work is supposed to be the Doom version of his novel, but this just uses level design as narrative. It sets the setting in a very simple way, but a very, very clear artistic direction to it, which is what I found it to be really attractive.
The thing that really gets me about Strange Aeons is you play through it and it's like, yeah, these are the Realm 667 enemies that every Z-Doom modder has seen 80 billion times over. But Strange Aeons, it really integrates them. It has very nice choice of enemies, very nice choice of enemy placement, and it builds the level around them. It is very well done, and it really drags you into the aesthetic of the WoD. It feels grim. It feels ethereal. It feels like its own thing.
I'm with you and against you on some points. I feel like the environment that is crafted using the textures and the music, albeit repeating probably a little bit too often, but the actual theme and setting are so coherent and well done. But the actual assets that he uses don't. Some of them gel okay, but as a whole with each other, they're a little bit too fuster-clucky. So it's a really strange dichotomy in one quality of the map set being so engrossing, and then the other one not necessarily removing me from the experience, but they are a bit questionable, like that strange mutant sphere power-up, which just felt more like a candy inclusion than something that really worked with the rest of the set. Am I alone in thinking that?
You can tell that ultimately, either way, it is a project that really needs its own dedicated artist, and it is a man just struggling with his limitations. I can't draw. I'm going to use these features. Maybe they'll cover for me.
Well, we'll just move swiftly on to Echelon now, which is it's a pretty good segue, actually, because this is another attempt, also in Z-Doom, to
the thing that really strikes me
narrative
about Echelon, which I played about at least a third of, at the least, is that it is really fast at first. Like, the first few levels just like that.
You spend more time reading the text than you do playing the level, yeah.
Oh yeah, and every level has an intermission text.
So why wasn't... This is by Soundblock. Sphere... how's my pronunciation do? Sphere Canamo? Sphere. I'll just say Sphere. Do. I think he's passed out.
Swear Andre Carmel.
Close enough. So he's well known for way back when for his participation in classics of the 90s, but he's made a resurgence recently with the likes of Plasma Plant, which plays very, very differently from this, because this has its roots in another project that he was planning called Par, which explains away the briefness of some of those levels, because he was designing levels that fit the par times that were for Doom 2. Only, of course, those part times were set from speedrunning. So now he's creating. He was looking to make levels that just regularly played at that length. And I think at most part times go upwards of 7 minutes for something like The Living End or The Chasm or something like that, and everything else is like sub 1 minute or 2 or 3 in Doom 2. So that explains that. Somewhere along the way, he changed his approach. He stopped doing part, and he wanted to create a more, I guess, more regular. I'd have to follow him up on that, to be honest. But plainly, he started to experiment more. And so, while it is unique, it has some really fun art assets in there, and plenty of charm to it. It also has some very strange, I think, archaic decisions, which make sense coming from someone who's been outside the community as long as he has. He's using Z-Doom, but he's not really implementing the assets in a way that I'm sure it would make some folks scratch their heads. Like, you have those new monsters that have revenant wake-up sounds and Caco deaths, and then imp gargling noises as they wander around. And it's like, and then also just using the standard Doom narrative text between levels. Like, is that really the way you want to tell your story? So I'm wondering what you think about that in particular, Terminus and Kinsie, since you're more familiar with what Z-Doom's capable of, and how this really strikes you as being something that is really feels to me at least like a product of some 10 years ago.
Yeah, it feels a bit like sitting uncomfortably between the past and the present. Though I guess considering that the author has been at this for a lot longer than most people making this stuff nowadays, I guess it makes sense that there'd be some old school sensibilities going on. But I also think that given the author's like how long he's been doing this and the reputation he's built up, he probably could have easily asked for help from someone to get like original sounds for the new monsters. Maybe get some original sketchy art for the intermission scenes.
He probably would have have to have been aware that was something that people would be looking for, wouldn't complain about in the first place. I imagine that may have gone over his head. I don't know.
You eventually tend to get so absorbed into a project that you start not seeing the flaws, and that's sort of a dangerous position to land in.
The fact that he's really just gone so far with this, and just the fact that it's Z-Doom based, a Z-Doom based megawad alone, that's an incredible rarity. But the fact that he goes so far with this, with small, fast, short, quick levels, that's something that's notable in and of itself, because a lot of Z-Doom megawads, they tend to try and cram in so much custom content, like custom monsters, custom enemies, and Z-Pack in particular, that's probably the go-to quote-unquote Z-Doom megawad.
Still.
Because it was advertised as such.
2008.
So yeah. Yeah, that's kind of unfortunate that Z-Doom just doesn't really have that many specific megawads dedicated to it. But yeah, as a matter of fact, I'll kind of cut that one short and say I think it's very interesting what it tries to do, a Z-Doom focused megawad with an emphasis short, quick levels, not a lot of usage of technology, and rather just focusing on quick gameplay, because in my opinion, the best way to make a Z-Doom map set is not to make a Z-Doom map set, as it were, but rather to stick with traditional old school style mapping techniques and then integrate Z-Doom technology into that. Because if you focus entirely on Z-Doom technology, you end up with something that's not really that fun to play.
God, get into mapping more often. Need that mentality.
It's funny that you say that, because I've got a project lined up for 2017 that I've been bringing people on board with. So
yes! Looking forward to... Okay, I'm not going to say it. Shadow of the Warball. You can carry on saying. Oh, just finishing up on Echelon, because I didn't really I did offer my thoughts, but just in conclusion, I do think it is a confused map set. I think, because I really wanted to get into reading with the story and stuff, but I was just moving too fast at the beginning, and I couldn't really be bothered to engross myself in it. And then the levels began to play more regularly, and I forgot about the story. It's like I got into E2 and it's like, oh yeah, now I'm playing Doom again. Oh, by the way, there's intermission text. Press space twice. That's my fault. But at the same time, the game really should have suckered me in a little bit more.
Shadow of the Warball, it kind of reminds me of JPCP in that it's a complete sucker punch from nowhere, because Shadow of the Warball, it has a very disastrous setup for a typical Rise Before the Fall. It's a incredibly ambitious project done by a first-timer who has never done any serious modding before, and he or she, I think it's a she, I don't know, entirely improvised. No major planning beforehand. Absolutely none. Just making a few graphics, making a few guns, making a few enemy sprites, then just dumping it all together. And it's been in development for over 5 years. It sounds like a recipe for total disaster. But it came out, and it's fun to play. Was released on Z-Doom and Doom World, and I noticed a lot of the Doom World thread basically came down to, wow, I did not expect this. Wow, this is incredibly fun to play. it's definitely not a Doom style game. It plays a lot more like a Wolfenstein. And if you're the type of person that thinks Wolfenstein has aged really badly and don't like how it plays, then yeah, Shadow of the Wool Bowl, definitely not going to play very well. But for me, I really enjoyed how interactive everything was in Shadow of the Wool Bowl. Like, you can blow up the different bits of environment and hide behind them so projectiles don't go through them, blow them up and shoot through them. There's also little monitors where the bad evil cat guy tries to shit talk you, and you can actually punch the monitors and break it before he finishes talking, and then he just swears at you. That's really, really cute.
I think there is a charm to something that is so. I mean, threadbare's a pretty harsh word to use because it implies that it's just worn out. Although maybe in a sense, since it is Wolfenstein, but at the same time, being so simple offers a charm.
It boils it down to the basics.
I think in many ways, it
wears its self-imposed limitations well.
It's not Doom. I mean, it could be Doom, but it's not Doom. It's not aiming to be Doom. It's just sort of Wolfenstein advanced with furries.
All right, so we've reached the end of the runners-up, and I feel like we're all teetering on the edge, or some of us have already fallen off it. How you doing, Boris?
Whatever.
Oh God, was that a cork being popped? I don't know. Maybe I'm just hearing things.
I know. I heard a loud thud from his microphone earlier.
Yeah.
I think he died.
Along the way, and I'm
perhaps mid-sentence.
alive again.
So if you've made it this far over the 3-hour mark, which is, dare I say it, a lot longer than we anticipated,
I'm dead by now.
Congratulations, you're not supposed to be here. But I would like to thank very much our co-casters. Let's be honest, main casters, Terminus and Kinsie for joining me, or me for joining them. I don't know who I'm thanking anymore. And Boris for hanging in there. Thanks, Stu.
Pleasure. It's been real.
It's painful.
It was my pleasure as well. It very much was a fun experience. You should do this more often.
Once a year, I think is a pretty good time. What do you reckon? Yeah, that's about right.
No. I think you should do it more often. Like maybe once every other week in between our sessions.
We've got some interviews lined up. Yeah. I've got some interviews lined up. That's good. I'm just waiting on my new mic to come around. But I'll bore you with the details later for everyone else. Thanks for tuning in. This has been the 2016 Cacos Retrospective. There's other stuff to talk about, but fuck if we're doing it now. Thanks for tuning in, folks.